Welcome, everyone, to Truro Town Council's meeting for Monday, October the 6th, 2025. Before we begin our agenda today, I, Kathy J. Henton, Mayor of the Town of Truro, acknowledge we are Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge the peace and friendship treaties and recognize we are all treaty people. We recognize African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched the part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. We recognize the Acadians who live in harmony with the Mi'kmaq, whose communities across the province are a living testament to the fortitude of their ancestors who survived the Grand Arrangement. Today, as both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, we commit to seek harmonious and mutually beneficial relationships. We give thanks to the elders and knowledge keepers. This month, we reflect on the histories and contributions of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, council and senior staff are wearing orange ribbons as a visible reminder of the impact of residential schools and as a symbol of our shared responsibility to advance truth and reconciliation. Now, we're going to enter into a public hearing this afternoon. This is a public hearing for Monday, October 6, 2025, for 155 Arthur Street, PID number 2018-0139. This is a development application. Has this been advertised, Mr. Dolder?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
And do we have any correspondence?
I don't have any correspondence with me currently, but I think when we go for a decision, I can read that.
Thank you. We're now going to start with a report from our planning department and then an opportunity for council for any questions and anyone in person in council chambers to ask questions as well. Is the representative from 155 Arthur Street here? Okay. Come on down and have a seat, please, or just get a little closer in case there's going to be questions. Thank you. And would you mind identifying yourself? What was your last name? Welcome. Okay, Jacob McPherson with our planning department is going to do the report today. So, Mr. McPherson, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you very much and good afternoon, everybody. So this is the third step of the application process for an application made by Truro Title Veterinary Services, Inc. to permit the animal and pet services use at 155 Arthur Street, and the correspondence will be included as part of this presentation, so we'll have a chance to go over that. So here we see the subject lands. They're situated on the edge of Truro's commercial downtown, and so the surrounding neighborhood here includes a mixture of residential, institutional, and commercial uses, which includes the Truro Veterinary Hospital, which this proposal would be in service to. So 155 Arthur Street is zoned and designated as urban corridor in the town's policy area and zoning map as shown on the maps in this slide. And also worth noting, you can see just to the east here in the sort of darker shade of red, the property is adjacent to the downtown core zoning and designation. So here's a photo of the subject property. So this is the property as it is seen looking north off of Arthur Street. This building was previously used as a boutique store as well as an optometrist clinic. This is the back side of the property facing south. So here you can see the gravel parking lot that is south of the property. Title Veterinary Services Incorporated has requested to turn the existing building on 155 Arthur Street into a cat-only veterinary care clinic as a means of expanding the existing operations of the Truro Veterinary Hospital. The clinic would fall under the Animal and Pet Services use, which permits the retailing of pet supplies and the provision of animal services. The applicant does not intend to house animals overnight or host any animal surgeries in the building, so it would just be for things like grooming and care of cats during the day. Policy IM11 is the policy that enables council to consider this use through a development agreement. So while animal and pet services are not normally permitted in the urban corridor zone, policy IM11 enables council to consider it. In this case, because the downtown core is abutting the urban corridor here, that's what enables it. So some other relevant policies. This is just one example, policy G17. There are some policies in the municipal planning strategy which relate to minimizing uses that would be obnoxious to neighboring properties. Because this application is to permit animal and pet services as a use, and not other kinds of animal-related uses such as dog kennels and these sorts of things, the impact on neighboring properties would be relatively minimal. There are some other policies from the UC policy area that relate to fostering local business, fostering employment in the town, as well as promoting a mixture of commercial uses in this zone so long as they don't conflict. Here we have policy UC 17, 21, and 24, and they all relate to this idea of promoting business in this policy area. So these are some relevant policies for the application. We're currently at step 3 of the standard process, so this is a shortened process compared to the extended process. And this is council's opportunity to make a decision regarding the proposal. So PAC provided a positive recommendation to this proposal, and so this is sort of the final step in terms of decision making before we proceed to the signing of the development permit and permits to be issued for this development. So in terms of public engagement, a development application notice has been posted on the subject property. Information has been posted on the town's website under active development applications, and a mail out was sent to property owners within 150 meters of subject lands regarding the public hearing. In total, there were 9 responses in terms of the survey that was sent out. So 100% of them were in favor, so that's 9. And some folks did add a bit of written comment. So to generally summarize them, they're all in favor of the development. Some of them speak to the quality of service that they have already received at the Truro Title Vet, as well as the benefit of having a cat-only care clinic as a place to bring the animals, because they tend to be stressed around other types of animals, and then it frees up other services, say if you have a dog, to bring to the Truro Title Vet. So that's sort of the general benefit that people were speaking to in this public engagement. And last up, we have the recommendation. So staff recommend that council enter into a development agreement with Title Veterinary Services Incorporated to permit the animal and pet services use at 155 Arthur Street. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McPherson. I'm now going to open it up to questions from council. Is there any questions? Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. McPherson, for your presentation. I'm going to ask a question that I already asked at PAC, but just to make sure it's on the record for here. If you could go to the zoning map slide for us, please, and thank you. Where you talked about, yes, this one will do nicely. So you indicated that there's the IM11 policy, I believe it was, that allows council to consider this as downtown core, even though it is currently urban corridor. And now I understand you can confirm that this does not then allow the neighboring urban corridors to also inherit downtown core. This is not a cascading, slippery slope. It is just the abutting of the actual policy, not the acting policy, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So it doesn't change any of the existing designations. It doesn't turn this property into a downtown core designation. And additionally, it only permits one use on the list of permitted uses from the downtown core zone: animal and pet services. So if somebody else wanted to take this property and have another use that is normally in the downtown core zone, they would have to apply again and go through this process.
Brilliant. Thank you for that clarification and confirmation. And then if I could ask a question of the ladies here from the vet, if you might want to turn on your microphone there, Madam Mayor, if you could help them. Just a quick question about the neighboring property in between the subject property and the existing vet clinic. Is that also owned by you, or is that owned by somebody else? Is that plot of land going to be a potential barrier to the business moving back and forth?
There's no property in between the two? They're neighboring properties, like the yards touch each other?
Okay, I'm just looking at Mr. McPherson, if you can confirm, maybe my eyes are deceiving me, but it looks like we have the subject property in the urban corridor. There is a long, narrow PID with nothing on it, and then there is another parcel on which the vet clinic currently sits. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I did visit the property, and so I took a look at it, and I think what's going on is that the applicant owns both properties, because I've seen
Great.
people working with dogs on that property, so it's my
Yeah,
assumption.
and so we lease the property, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's accurate.
Excellent. No further concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Graham.
Could you just remind me, I asked the question as well at PAC, but just clarification on the services that will be provided. You said non-surgical. What about spaying and neutering? Are those surgical?
Yeah,
I-
so
I just need,
Yeah, so we won't be like using any sedation or anesthesia in that building because you need oxygen and anesthesia machines, and so we're not, and we won't have the space for that. So it's going to be appointments, mostly preventive care, so annual vaccines, annual checkups, managing more chronic medical conditions, sort of senior cats that have mobility concerns, ear infections, skin infections, so anything that can be done within an appointment. If they're really sick and need to be hospitalized, they'll go to the main building next door for that. If they need anesthesia of any sort, they would go to the main building, and radiology services too, because we don't have an x-ray machine in that building. So certain things will be, they'll be triaged to go to the main building, and it'll be in and out appointments that are happening in the cat clinic.
so I was wondering if you diagnose a cat with whatever ailment you might, do you share that information with another clinic other than the one that would be right next door? Like,
So medical records are confidential, just like in human medicine for pets. So if that animal goes to another veterinary hospital, the client has to request the records from us, and then we'll send them. But
You will.
We need to get consent from the client to send those records. Yeah.
so the obligation isn't to go necessarily next door. They could potentially,
Oh, yes, yeah, if they wanted to go to another clinic and for some reason, if they wanted a second opinion, then they are welcome to do that. And that happens often between clinics for different reasons. People move, people are traveling or visiting, or they want a second opinion. That happens. If that happens, they just call us to request the records be sent, and we send them along. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, good afternoon. My question is actually for Mr. McPherson. Mr. McPherson, when it comes to normally what's circulated is, at least is, if I remember correctly, a copy of the proposed development agreement is usually circulated to council, and I usually read through those. And I didn't see that, maybe I overlooked it, but I didn't see it, and so my question has to do with the specificity of the use. We just heard it's non-surgical. I want to know, is that going to be written into the development agreement, maybe non-surgical for felines?
Yeah, so
Is
you're
that
right.
correct?
Yeah.
For cats only? That's going to be written into it, like that's part of, that is the development agreement.
So I guess I can sort of break that down into two questions. And I do have a copy of the draft development agreement to circulate, if it would be helpful. But I can speak to, when it comes to the division between an animal and pet services versus a veterinary clinic, the land use bylaw breaks down those two ideas into two separate uses. So only one use would be permitted. So by this logic, there are uses of a certain caliber that wouldn't be allowed on this property, which would relate to veterinary services. So we're talking about things like spaying and neutering animals, doing surgeries, those sort of things. When it comes to whether or not it's specifically for cats, it's not included in this draft development agreement that it would only apply for cats. It is the option, and sort of the way that I've gone about proposing this is looking at what the applicant is looking to do and providing it that way. And if council decides that it's necessary to limit it to that extent, then it could be included in the development agreement.
Okay. I guess my question, excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. My question has to do with animal runs, having animals outside. That's my concern. So cats, generally you don't put them out in a cat run. I've never heard of a cat run. But we do have dog runs sometimes, right? Dogs need exercise. They're usually let out and yada, yada. So that's my question. Is that allowed in this agreement? Like, for instance, if all of a sudden you became, it became really attractive for you as a business to have dogs in that as well, or dogs in there. Can they have a dog run at that particular facility?
Yeah, you'll have to, I don't know right off, I'd have to check, but my understanding is, I believe no, the answer is no, but I want to confirm that.
Okay, so if it's yes, I would like it written in that it's no, just because, you know, there's already one dog run, and I'm not going to get into that, but I just don't want to see another dog run on that property. Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. Are there any questions in the gallery pertaining to this development application that anyone wants to speak on? And is there any comments you'd like to make, Dr. Mason or Dr. Aucoin?
I don't think anything additional.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so seeing no further questions, I'm going to ask 3 times. Are there any further questions for this development agreement for 155 Arthur Street? My second ask, is there any questions for 155 Arthur? My third and final ask, are there any further questions today for 155 Arthur? Seeing none, I declare the hearing for 155 Arthur Street is closed. Thank you, doctors, very much for being here.
Thank you.
We're now going to proceed to our public agenda for today. This is a public council meeting for the town of Truro for Monday, October the 6th, 2025. Mr. Dolter, are there any omissions, deletions to the agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seeing no changes to the agenda for October 6th is approved. Item 2 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 8th, 2025. The minutes were circulated. If there are no changes identified by council, does anyone see any? No? If not, the minutes for September 28th, 2025 are approved. Moving on. Item 3, petitions, delegations, and correspondence. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So council did receive a letter early last week from the Public Library for Truro, Colchester, East Hants Public Library. I think the public may be aware, and certainly it was briefed to council previously, that the library is currently has a fundraising campaign underway, which will culminate in an event on the 18th of October. Mr. Jeff Mercer, the Executive Director and Chief Librarian for the library, sent the town a letter outlining that I'll just read the letter, Madam Mayor. In 1950, the town of Truro, municipality of the County of Colchester, municipality of the District of East Hants, and the town of Stewiacke agreed to form a regional library to provide exemplary public library service to residents and visitors of their communities. To celebrate, we are holding a 75th anniversary gala on October 18th at the Truro Library, hosted by Jeff Douglas and featuring performances by Garrett Mason. The gala will be a grand celebration of this major moment in the library's history, showcasing library service and thanking the community and our partners for their support as part of a wonderful evening. The gala is also raising a fundraiser for a new library vehicle. I'm requesting that the town of Truro become a sponsor of the 75th anniversary gala and invite you to consider consider the accompanying package that outlines both the event and the opportunities for sponsorship that will help the library achieve our fundraising goal. Your support will be crucial for making a new library vehicle a reality, and just says if we're interested in sponsoring, where to contact for that. So, Madam Mayor, the package is one that I think council is familiar with, that when there was a presentation made some time ago and identifies sponsorship levels at the bronze, silver, and gold level. Bronze being $1,000 to $2,999, silver $3,000 to $7,599, and then gold from $7,500 and up. So again, this and the event is in another just over 2 weeks. So the library is asking if council would consider this, and I am aware, having talked to Mr. Mercer, that some of the other municipal units have come on, and I assume that it is both the county and potentially East Hants. I don't have the details on what they actually agreed to contribute. and I would be remiss if I didn't also say that, and I talked to Mr. Mercer about this, is that the town does take a fairly strong financial position with the library. We do provide significant amount of money, I think totaling to almost $290,000 a year in both our mandatory contribution to the province and then the support we provide to the building. And in fact, we have a heating system upgrade to do shortly that we are planning. So not to say this isn't a good venture, but I will leave it to council. And I do, given the position of the other municipalities, I would say that it probably would be suitable for us to make a contribution. But again, that's up to council, and I guess I would need a motion from council based on this letter. And the reason I'm putting it that way is that we won't have another public meeting prior to the event being held. And again, just for council to consider. So either, at the bronze, silver, or gold level. And I can confirm that there is grant funding available still in our budget. Should council wish to make a contribution for this year, although reminding it is outside our normal grant process. But again, I think the fundraising activities started after we had finalized our budgets. So.
Thank you, Mr. Dolter. So you've heard the information presented by the letter from Mr. Mercer to Mr. Dolter and the town. What does council want to do? Does someone want to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Fleming, Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think in order to best facilitate the discussion, I would put a motion on the floor that the town of Truro consider donating to the library fundraising campaign in possibly a similar fashion as to what the other municipalities have done. I don't know if we have that information available. And I would have to ask Mr. Dolter perhaps about the budgetary constraints, what room we have in the budget, if we had a ceiling where we could cap that, or perhaps that is a question to Ms. Russell. But I do think that to facilitate the discussion and to make the motion that we do consider funding or donating to the library fundraiser.
Can I just add, I guess the motion would be to match the contribution of the county, or would that be, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think the motion could be to match the county contribution, and then we can have the discussion and amendments to the motion if needed.
Something's telling me it may be either 4,500 from them or 7,500. I'm not sure, but.
I can confirm that it's 7,500.
Okay, so it's been confirmed at 7,500.
And this is why I will remind council that the county's contribution to the library is capped, and we pay significantly more in our operating support for the library, just again for full information.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Councillor Fleming has seconded the motion to contribute. Now we will need to discuss how much we want to give. So we know the county's giving 7,500, but there's three levels. What is the town comfortable with? So we've got Councillor Talbot.
Actually, I'm a big supporter of the library, but I'm against making a donation simply because the other two municipal units are doing so. I'd like to know what level of contribution they make compared to the approximately 300,000 that we make on a yearly basis.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Mr. Dolter, do you want to speak?
I don't have their contribution in hand right now. I just know that it's capped based on the square footage that when the library project was done, they capped it at a certain size, certain square footage, and that was quite a few years ago. I can't remember what the number is now, to be honest. I didn't really anticipate that question, so I don't have that information in front of me. I don't know, Ms. Russell, if you have anything there, but.
I believe it's 28%.
Okay, so they provide 28% compared to our, yeah. So we're providing almost 70%, or compared to their contribution. The province, no, this is operating costs, so the province doesn't, so of the contributions made, we fund, our contribution, total municipal contribution is, ours is 70% compared to the county's 28%. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a
70%,
motion on the
okay.
floor. Maybe we should decide whether we're going to support that motion or we're going to vote that motion down. So I believe the motion right now has been moved by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Fleming, that we contribute the same amount as the county. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Just before that, sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know we were going to the vote. I'd been advised by our CAO that I should consider abstaining.
Yes.
Can I have confirmation from our legal that I need to abstain, given that I'm the chair of the committee? There's no personal benefit to me, but
sorry, a little caught off guard. It's not a conflict of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act because there is no, as you point out, you have no personal financial interest in this. So it's not a conflict of interest that would require you to abstain.
Yep.
I think it would be your call whether you think you're sort of comfortable proceeding with voting
Yeah,
or
and
not in
and
the
the-
situation.
And that was the basis of my comment. I knew you weren't in a traditional conflict of interest, other than the fact that being on the fundraising committee, obviously, you're very supportive of funding for the library, and therefore, yeah, just from outward appearances, it may create a concern. But other than that, again, you are, if you don't feel you're in a conflict, you are free to vote.
thank you.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to ask, I guess, sort of the similar question, not that I am on that committee, but my partner and I have personally donated to this fundraiser, so it may be a similar perceived conflict. But also I wanted to go back to the question of, do we have the budgetary room if we were going to match $7,500?
Yes, we do.
We do, okay. And I'd also like to clarify, I don't think that we're doing this because the other municipalities are doing it. I think we're doing it because the library is a very important place in our town. It is one of the few third places that doesn't cost any money that somebody can go to use computers, to read books. And Mr. Mercer and I chatted very recently talking about the rise of AI and how it's getting so much more difficult to trust a lot of what we're seeing on the internet. But hopefully what we're seeing in these old books is still trustworthy information, things that we can use to help educate ourselves. So I've always been a supporter of the library, and it's for those reasons that I think that we should consider this request. Thank you.
Councillor Talbot?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilor McGrath for interpreting my input. Secondly, my other concern is we've had a number of organizations come to us post-grant, and they've been turned down. Are we setting a precedent if in fact we approve this time? Because basically what we're saying is we're going to the grant money, correct?
Correct. It would come out of the grant fund. I guess the reason this is before you now is because this fundraising campaign did surface post our budget completion. So again, there wouldn't have been an opportunity for the library to put an application prior to the December deadline. You are correct. We have entertained them, and I mean, up to recently, we did have grants on the public agenda. So anticipating that council was open to in certain circumstances, but again, those are exceptional. Again, I don't think we're setting a precedent as that council gets to decide if they are prepared to entertain something. There's no requirement for council to entertain this at this time either. So again, it is council's choice whether or not, if you feel the policy is what it is. We have recently approved one outside that policy. So again, but it is, council doesn't have to follow its own policies. I guess I'll put it that way. So again, you write them, you can work outside the policy, and that's why you're that's why you're all here, because you have to make decisions that sometimes are exceptional.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dalter. Okay, so we're going to go back to the motion again. There's a motion on the floor made by Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Fleming. The amount was $7,500 to donate to the library. I'm going to ask the question. All in favor of supporting the $7,500 donation, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Okay. Motion's approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I'd just like it noted that I did abstain.
Yes, Councillor Graham has noted that she has abstained. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for that. Now we're moving on to old business, item 4A. Request for decision for Truro Asante Community Solar Garden Partnership. Mr. Dalter, if you would.
So thank you, Madam Mayor, and apologize if I hesitated a bit in my reading. I should have brought my reading glasses. The town of Truro was approached by Asante Logistics Group Incorporated and Sustainable Energy Platforms Incorporated. Let's see if this works. Oh, look at that! Jeez, what a difference! In the spring of 2025, regarding a Truro community solar garden project, and the desire to include a municipal partner as their application on their application with the community solar program. This proposal was also presented to Council at the Committee of the Whole meeting on September 18, 2025. Approval for the proposal would see the town of Truro joining a partnership with the Asante Truro Community Solar Garden Project, a collaborative initiative with Sustainable Energy Platforms Incorporated and Asante Logistics Group, and the Truro Black Cultural Development Association. The project aims to develop a community solar garden on Asante's warehouse rooftop in Truro, providing a clean, renewable electricity for local residents, institutions, and municipal buildings under the Nova Scotia Community Solar Program. SEP will lead the application process, design, build, finance, and operate the solar asset, and manage project delivery. Asante will provide the rooftop and the warehouse space, participate in project management, and support community engagement. The TBCDA, which is the Truro Black Cultural Development Association, will contribute to the community engagement and represent underserviced groups. The town of Truro's role would be to promote the project to residents, support outreach, and maximize local participation. The town of Truro would also potentially be a subscriber to the project, lowering energy costs for the town. The project structure would see the town participating on the project without financial or ownership obligation. This partnership offers Truro environmental benefits, energy resilience, and community engagement with no financial risk and or ownership. The project aligns with the Truro's Community Energy and Emissions Plan, approved by Council in October of 2024. The project also allows the town to continue to explore the benefits of community solar in Truro while pausing the potential Cumberland Solar Garden project. The partnership on the Asante Truro Community Solar Garden project does not risk the partnership or the application for the Cumberland project. Based on that, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion to Council is be it resolved that Council approve entering into a partnership agreement with the Asante Truro Community Solar Garden project as presented.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dalter, and they did give a great presentation at the Committee of the Whole meeting. So, Council, I'm looking for a mover. Councillor McGrath, seconded by Councillor Fleming. Discussion. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wanted to ask a question. We have, if I can read part of the background here, the project structure would see the town participating on the project without financial or ownership obligations. But in the implications of the recommendation, it says the benefits to the town far outweigh the costs. What are the costs if we do not have financial or ownership obligations?
So the cost would be basically staff time to do the promotion and work with the community in order to, give a full understanding of the project, and potentially, depending on how the final subscription process works out, we could assist in signing up some of our more energy challenged residents to the program if that's the way the subscriptions would be distributed. That's a detail that we need to finalize. But again, that's we'd help promote the program and get support for it within the community.
So it would be mostly in-kind support then in the terms of town staff time,
Yes.
but no financial obligations?
Yes, correct. And obviously the value added for the proponent is the fact that a municipal partner is one of the key things on getting the program approved. So that's really why they came to us as well too, as well as the representation from the Truro Black Cultural Development Association. That's an important relationship there as well too, in order to support the application.
No doubt that supporting the TBDCA is important, as well as promoting the clean energy. And I agree with the mayor's comments that they did provide a very good presentation. I am in support of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it was the first COW meeting I ever missed. And it's too bad because I would have really enjoyed that presentation. I looked at some of the material that was sent around after, and I didn't get an answer to this. I'm just wondering, from my own curiosity, when it looks like can we buy directly? Are they an energy provider? I would have thought that they would be producing energy that would be sold to Nova Scotia Power Grid onto the grid, and then they'd be paid for that. So how do they can sign up customers direct?
Similar to the Cumberland project that was briefed to council. This was running off a subscription service. I don't know, Ms. Grant, if you've got more than that, but I think that's basically how you would buy into it. There'd be subscriptions available that would be provided to those that sign up and could be used for basically a percentage discount on electricity costs.
Yeah, that's all I was going to add is so the program or the project sells directly to Nova Scotia Power. They also establish who the subscribers are to that project, but then you get a bill rebate through your Nova Scotia Power bill. So the relationship ends up being directly with Nova Scotia Power once you're a subscriber.
So by participating with this, we actually become a subscriber to the energy that's produced.
We could be. I think that's one of the things once we finalize that. But
I'm
that's
just
one
trying
of
to
the
figure
things.
out how a citizen, a regular, let's say myself, I live downtown and I want to have a lower
Yeah, there could
electricity rate,
yeah.
so I sign up with Asante, not with Nova Scotia Power. I can't imagine that.
Well, you wouldn't sign up with Asante. You'd have a subscription through the program, and that would reduce your Nova Scotia Power bill because you'd get whatever the established percentage would be. That would come off your bill. Okay. So you would get a discounted bill from Nova Scotia Power because of the subscription.
Wow, okay, understood that now, and thank you for your patience.
I want to say, Deputy Mayor, that I did make the comment at the committee of the whole meeting that you would have enjoyed that presentation very much. Now I'm going to hear from Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. I as well missed that COW meeting when this presentation occurred, unfortunately, and I wish I was there. I have solar panels on my house, so I have a little bit of experience with this stuff, and they're great. I've also had personal dealings with the Asante group. Through the St. Vincent de Paul furniture program, our locker was full. We had all kinds of donations, and they were kind enough to give us an area of their property there that we could use for free of charge, and we'd have access to it anytime we wanted to. So I just wanted to mention that the Asante group as a whole is a great organization, and they're very community-minded, and I think they'd be great partners for us to partner with.
Thank you for that. I love hearing about good citizenship. Okay, so we've had that Mr. Dolder has read the motion. All in favor of the motion? Oh, Councillor Talbot, I see your light on.
Yeah, no, in relation to Councillor Thomas' comment in terms of subscription, I think the intent is to prioritize low-income families to get this, so it's not just going to be a general offering.
Yeah. Once again, if depending, we haven't had these detailed discussions with the group, is that we would look, if the town had subscriptions and council wanted those to go to the general public, we would use, we have the low income tax exemption list. Those are the people we probably turn to first to provide them some benefit. I mean, that would probably be the preliminary way that we would approach it if that was our option.
Very positive. Okay, seeing no more questions. The motion's been read. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Item 4B, request for decision, business and feasibility study to explore district energy in Truro. Mr. Dalton?
So we're staying with the energy theme, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So in the spring of 2025, town staff were approached by Rochelle Owen Consulting and Net Zero Atlantic regarding a partnership opportunity to explore a business and feasibility case for district energy in Truro. Rochelle Owen also presented this opportunity to the Committee of the Whole meeting on September 18th, 2025. This initiative aligns with the town's energy and emissions plan approved by Council in October of 2024 and leverages the expertise of Net Zero Atlantic and other sustainability specialists. The proposed study will examine district energy nodes and renewable energy sources in downtown Truro, focusing on areas with high building density and pending development. Energy sources under consideration include ground source heat pumps, waste heat from a nearby biomass cogeneration facility at nearby Dalhousie University, and thermal energy storage. The business case will identify optimal quadrants of potential deployment, assess benefits and risks, and recommend governance structures for possible implementation. The town is being asked to consider support through an in-kind resources. There is no cash requirement from the town. A grant funding up to $100,000 for the business case and $200,000 for the feasibility study is being pursued. The town's commitment involves staff participation in monthly meetings and ongoing dialogue. Benefits include potential long-term energy savings, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, enhanced sustainability, and support for local economic development, all with minimal financial operational risk to the town. If funding is successful, the final deliverable will be a business case and feasibility study submitted to the town, which can be used for informational purposes and further decision-making regarding implementation. Again, Madam Mayor, so the portion of the Rochelle Owens presentation is provided for Council as part of the package. So the proposed motion is, be it resolved that Town Council support the business and feasibility study with in-kind resources to explore district energy in Truro, assuming the funding application that has been submitted is successful.
Thank you, Mr. Dolter. And after almost a year of the two of us working together as mayor and CAO, he says my favorite three words, no cash requirement. So the motion has been made. I'm looking for a mover. Deputy Mayor, seconder. Councillor Pryor. Now discussion. Councillor Graham.
I think at Committee of the Whole, and I'd like to make it a part of the motion if possible, we discussed writing a letter of support to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for their grant application. And I would like to direct that that happen. Could we amend the motion to include that?
Yes, we certainly could. I think we kind of understand that as being part of it once Council approves it, so we would write that letter of support, but if you'd like a part of the motion, we could do that as well.
I would, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As mentioned at that Committee of the Whole meeting, I do have some concerns with some, running of the pipes, possible installation of the infrastructure, the tearing up of existing infrastructure, how that might impact us. However, right now where we have no cash requirement, your three favorite words, that I am supportive of looking into a feasibility study to see for sure what the let's get the data, let's see what the impacts will be, and get that cost benefit analysis.
Thank you. Mr. Dolter, if you want to read that back with the amendment that
Yes,
Grant
so
has proposed.
Yeah, so the proposed motion be resolved that Town Council support the business and feasibility study with an in-kind resources to explore district energy in Truro, assuming funding application has been submitted and is successful, and that Council write a letter of support to FCM to support the application for funding.
Thank you. So all those in favor of supporting the amended motion, please signify by saying, oh, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say before the vote was taken that I strongly support this motion. And I have a question, though, in regards to it. This Rochelle Owens Consulting, who owns the, this has the opportunity for Truro itself, the town of Truro, to build, let's say, a cogeneration plant, if it comes back very positive, we can use that study to build our own solely owned Truro, town of Truro energy plant.
Potentially we could, yes. I think it would show what was feasible. I think the intent at this point is to look at existing I'll call it waste heat. Like, for example,
Right.
Dalhousie's producing more energy in their biomass than they can actually use.
Sure, yeah.
So that would be the initial. But I mean, I think the door would be open to doing that. The use of who owns the pipes and who owns the infrastructure, that's something that I can't answer at this point. I don't know, Ms. Grant, if you know.
Yeah, we wouldn't necessarily own the report at the end of the day, but certainly we will be,
If you have access to it.
yes,
decisions.
yeah, we'll have access to it for decision making. In part of developing the business case, they will also look at like private models as well.
Right.
So if the business case was there for the town or for potentially a developer like that would benefit from the energy itself.
Okay.
So that's also a model they're looking at.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, everyone, and we're going to vote again on the amended motion as read by Mr. Dolder that now will include a letter to FCM. All those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, the motion is approved. Thank you very much. Item 4C, request for decision, pre-approval resolution for the fall 2025 debenture borrowing. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the Town Council meeting in September 2025, Council approved borrowing funds to cover the costs of the Colchester Legion Stadium renovations, to the tune of $1,500,000, and the stadium ice plant to a total of $300,000. The town is only eligible to borrow for these projects during the fall debenture process. This amount totaling $1,800,000. The resolution before you is to approve the Province of Nova Scotia's Finance and Treasury Board to go to market on behalf of the town for the fall debenture process. This resolution approves parameters surrounding the borrowing, including the amount that can be borrowed, $1,800,000, and the time frame of the borrowing, 10 years, and the maximum interest rate of borrowing, which would be 7%. Again, that is the maximum. So the proposed motion is, be it resolved that Council approve the resolution for pre-approval of debenture issuance subject to the interest rates as read and presented. And again, Madam Mayor, the documents are there for Council's review, including the resolution for the pre-approval of debenture issuance subject to interest rate, which is there for review.
Thank you. I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Talbot, seconder. Councillor Graham. Discussion, Council.
Sorry, could I interrupt for 1 second? Mike, it appears the wrong amount was on that form. There was an updated amount. So we also need to include the $2 million for the ice plant that was approved back in April.
Okay.
Andrea is going to bring up an updated form.
So it should be for a total of $2 million?
3.8.
3.8. Okay.
Ms. Russell, can you just repeat that again, please, just for Council? So,
Sure, 1 second.
Okay. So just for Council, so just to take a step back there, so everything that was read previously would be correct, but in addition to this, and this is something that we've already talked to Council about, in addition to the 1.5 for the Legion Stadium, 300,000 for the ice plant building, there would also be $2 million, which would be our portion of the $3 million purchase of the and installation of the ice plant, with $1 million of that $3 million coming from the province. So the total borrowing resolution, which does require amendment, would be $3.8 million.
Correct.
So again, those revised documents. So where it says in the document for Council, where it says $1,800,000, that should read $3,800,000.
Councillor Fleming?
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. Is the amortization stays the same, I guess, at 10 years?
Yeah, it would be 10 years, and usually what typically happens at that point, the amortization, depending on where the final loan would be, it could be renegotiated. For these amounts, given the fact that they're I'm sure they seem significant, but they're not huge. We would probably usually take a 10-year term on them, so it's paid out
Okay.
within 10 years.
And we did approve the extra 2 million?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all.
I just don't
This is,
recall it.
so just to be clear, all these amounts have been approved. This is just the
Yep.
approval of the debenture.
Great, thank you.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would request through you if either Mr. Dolter or Ms. Russell could just go into a little bit of detail, the elevator pitch, if you will, on the benefits of borrowing for 10 years at 7%, which, I don't know, maybe seems a little high to me, but I've never had to borrow $3 million before. That what were the benefits of the borrowing and by the debenture versus just sort of trying to fund through existing cash flow?
Well, borrowing the funds over a longer period of time would allow us to, this is a long-term asset, so when you borrow funds and spread it over a 10-year period, you're spreading the benefit, the asset that we built or rebuilt will last that long, so to spread the cost of that over 10 years to enable us to use the funds we have in our bank now for other purposes.
Yeah, and it allows us, it's really a cash management tool at the end of the day, because again, we would have to take $3.8 million out of our reserves, which, depending on what happens in the next 10 years, might not be a great decision, because we would need it for something else. And typically, as Ms. Russell indicated, because of the life of all of these assets, we know that they will exist long after the 10 years that they're paid, probably for another 20 or 30 years, and therefore it does make good financial sense. In fact, I just remind the ice plant that we replaced was almost 50 years old. So again,
Wow.
it is a long-term asset.
Well, hopefully we will get 50 years out of this one. And that was going to be my question, because I think, Ms. Russell had said that, the life, we are expected to get the life for 10 years, but it's more than 10 years. We're expecting significant out of that.
That's typically why we avoid borrowing for short-term assets, because typically the asset is fully depreciated before the loan would be paid. So in this case, this makes really good sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thomas?
Yeah, my understanding is to a maximum of 7%. Do you have any idea what the interest rate will be? 5.5%, that sort of idea?
It's right now it's much lower than 7. I don't recall the numbers.
Okay.
right off.
Okay, and do you have an idea of what our credit rating is for the town? Does it go like that? Are we like a AAA, a AA, or how does that work? Sorry for the ignorance.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Mike. Do you?
I think basically our debt ratio right now from the financial condition indicators is green, so we're good.
Right.
We're seeing financially, we have a very low debt ratio and within all acceptable ranges for the
So
project.
we would get the best rate out there.
We feel we do it,
I
yes,
hope so.
yeah. We're a low risk, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, just quick follow-up. Glad to hear that we are green with our debt ratio. If this loan goes ahead, are we still going to be green?
Yes, that's all been considered as part of the overall process. Remember now, the FCIs that we have now, we've retired debt since those actually were produced. So again, this is seen well within that range. We're well below the debt ceiling.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Before we vote again, could you just read that motion, Mr. Dolter, if you don't mind, one more time with the change, please?
Okay, so proposed motion is be resolved that the resolution of pre-approval of debenture issuance subject to the interest rate as read be presented, and as read would be amended to a total of $3.8 million versus the 1.8 that was originally read. So debenture for $3.8 million.
Okay, thank you. Council, you've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion is approved. Thank you, and thank you for the clarification, Mr. Dolter. Item 4D, request for decision. From what we heard earlier at our hearing today, 155 Arthur Street. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry,
okay.
I grabbed both sheets at the same time. Put myself out of place. So for 155 Arthur Street Development Agreement, so as read in the public hearing or as discussed, development agreement for title veterinary services to permit an animal and pet services use at 155 Arthur Street, and that's PID 201-80139. So the proposed motion is be it resolved that council enter into a development agreement with with Title Veterinary Services Incorporated to permit the animal and pet services use at 155 Arthur Street.
Thank you. I'm looking for someone to move that. Counselor Talbot seconded. Counselor Pryor. Any discussion on the motion? Deputy Mayor.
I just want to make sure there's no pet run, you know. I don't see a dog run there. Sorry, but if I live beside it, you know, and I'm sure the people that live there don't want to see a pet run. And there was some sort of, I'm very much in favor of this, but if it needs to be written into the motion so to secure it, or if I have the assurance that that's going to be part of the development agreement, that it's in okaying this, that they don't have the right to do that at some further date.
I think we can put the terminology within the development agreement that would restrict it to no pet runs.
I see a nod from Mr. Fox and Mr. McPherson.
And you see a nod from Councillor Thomas.
Yes, okay.
Although a cat run would be amusing to watch.
Yes. Okay. All right, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor that council enter into development agreement with Title Veterinary Services to permit the animal and pet services use at 155 Arthur Street, please say aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. And there will be a 14-day appeal period, correct?
Yes.
Yes, from when it
correct.
appears in the paper
Yeah.
and the social media platform. And when that's set in motion, the 14-day appeal period begins. If no appeals, then it's approved. Item 4E, request for decision, Argus Drive Ball Field, ponds infilling. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the request of council, staff executed the tender by invitation for work associated with the infilling of the 3 ponds at Argus Drive Ball Field site. Tender documents were issued for 3 qualified contractors, SW Weeks Construction, Dexter's Construction Limited, and Gridline Construction. On September 18th, 2025, staff received and reviewed bid submissions from 2 of the 3 qualified contractors invited for the work involved in the project. So the table that's provided to council here provides the bids that were submitted and the bid prices and the associated bid information. So again, that table indicates the Dexter Construction Company Limited bid price was $628,076 with a bid security of bid bond of 10%, and that they have the required standing and WCB requirements. SW Weeks Construction Limited bid was $785,000. Also with a 10% bid bond, and the same met the other 2 requirements for the bid, which is WCB and Newfoundland Construction Association good standing. So of note, the original opinion of the total construction cost that staff provided was $647,000, and all these prices are HST extra. So then, as noted in the table that I just read through, Dexter Construction Limited provided the low bid price for the work tendered and included the bid bond and met the other requirements. It should also be noted that each of the bids included $60,000 contingency allowance to cover any additional costs that may arise from any unknown conditions that may be discovered on the site. Also, it was indicated that within their bid submission that they agreed to substantially perform the work of the project within 8 weeks after receiving notice of contract award. So based on staff's review of the bid submissions summarized above, the bid submission for the work submitted by Dexter Construction Limited is compliant with the requirements outlined within the tender documents and presents the best value to the town of the 2 bid submissions received. As part of the tender requirements, the bid prices of the tender received are open to acceptance and are irrevocable for a period of 60 days from the date of the tender closing. This project was not included in our 25-26 capital budget. However, the cost savings achieved in the Cobequid Drive street recapitalization tender compared to budget, and the deferral of the Argus Drive street revitalization with those 2 projects, with the savings and the project delayed, staff anticipate having savings in the community building fund, which we formerly known as gas tax, of $956,166 that can be used to fund this project. So so the proposed motion, Madam Mayor, is be it resolved the council approve awarding this construction work to Dexter Construction Company Limited for the bid price of $628,076 HST extra, and reallocate the capital funding as presented.
Thank you very much. I'm looking for someone to move that. Councillor Talbot, second. Councillor McGrath. Any discussion? Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. I asked this question before, I'm going to ask it again. Have we taken ownership of the ball field?
I believe it is considered substantially complete at this point.
Has it been
Mr.
signed
Browning?
over? It's been signed over to us?
Lost the coin flip between Ashley and I. It is, yes, it is ours. There's a few deficiencies still left with them.
Okay.
But essentially we have.
Well, there's one big deficiency, the ponds. And my
I
question
said-
is, why would we even accept?
Because the ponds contract itself was separate from the original tender. So that
So
portion,
those ponds weren't a part of the whole,
they were.
the whole construction?
They were part of they were part, but they're not deficient from the standpoint that they were built based on approved drawings. So again, the contractor did everything they were required to do. So they were built. Now,
So, I know you mentioned the engineer's report.
Yeah, so
Who-
that's-
Who
yeah.
hired the engineer?
that's something that is a different matter that we'll have to address later.
No, but who hired,
They-
did we hire the engineer?
No, they were hired by the contractor.
Contractor, exactly. So it's all part of their
Actually-
project.
Yeah, Counselor, I can't really get into that portion of this.
No, okay, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand it, and then that's the only point I wanted to make on
Yeah.
that. But my next point was, I was down to visit the site the other day, Floyd and I, my dog, we had a nice little walk around. For me to look of it, I think a nice fence, 6-foot fence, 5-foot fence around the property is all that's needed. I've been to other sporting facilities, and I can't remember specifically where it is, but there was the same idea. There was ponds there, and they were fenced in. And by the look of the ball field can still be used if we put a fence around it. I don't see an issue with, instead of spending $750,000 on it, or $628,000, spend $150,000 and fence it all, and then it's done. Same thing's finished.
Yeah, I do think there were other issues identified with the standing water, though, because again, where the ponds aren't draining, there is, I think there are some issues with the mosquitoes and that too, because again, it is pretty much standing water. Like, the water's not moving. The ponds were supposed to drain, they don't. So because it tends to be standing water, and there are buildup of algae and some other things.
Fill Kiwanis Pond in.
Well, it does, Kiwanis Pond does drain, so that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean.
there is-
There's
yeah.
all kinds of water all
No,
the
I
ponds
understand.
on the golf course. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, you can't.
Understood.
So we're going to be doing some post-project reviewing, after these projects, and we're going to have full reviews on the project management moving forward. Is that not correct, Mr. Dolter?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. And, looking for ways to make things better. And so we've been to discussions about that, so that is definitely happening. I see the light up, and Councillor Graham?
I'm just wondering, have we had a professional, either our own on staff or from outside, advise us on the success of just filling it in? Are we quite certain that this is the most appropriate solution?
As far as I'm aware, this is really other than fencing, but the fencing doesn't solve the issue of the standing water. So again, the only option really is to create a situation where they no longer fill, which is filling in is basically that's the only solution. Mr. Browning?
Yeah, it was yours truly that did the design for this. One of the things that we're capturing with this as well is an area of the site that can be beneficial and used. So in the adjacent to the right field corner, there's good prime green space in that area that can be recaptured now, used for ball tournaments where two teams waiting for playing the next game can have a catch or can gather. I know Ms. Sims and myself have talked a couple of times about batting cages and locations of that. So once again, recapturing land if should down the road we want to install those.
I have no problem supporting the motion if we're certain that this was the best solution. And just curious if anything else was considered or.
Yeah, we did look as well as not filling all of the ponds, but we still felt that if we were going to do one, which is the large one, is I think of the most concern, that the other two would still long-term create issues, right? So we felt even if in the short term, if we filled in one, eventually we'd end up where we're proposing anyways, right? So that's where we were.
We also did look at the option early on of fencing. Again, doesn't solve the standing water issue that CAO Dolter mentions, but also that carried a pretty hefty price tag of 6 figures. In fact, something I think bigger than a 1 in front of the 6-figure number. So spending that kind of money, still having ponds and having chain link fence around it just didn't seem like a real attractive solution.
Okay. Thank you. I'm satisfied with the response.
Thank you both. Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, I guess my question was around approximate start and completion dates, but I do want to address the standing water issue. I've received any number of complaints about people not able to enjoy their backyards because they couldn't go out there because the bugs and infestation caused by that standing water. And I think that's one of the reasons that we decided to go the route we're going.
Yeah, that is correct. And Mr. Browning was mentioning the fencing. I think we looked at the fencing. It would be a couple kilometers of fence because the ponds, anybody's been out there, they are large. So again, the cost, we felt this solution was going to have the outcome that everybody was asking for.
But I'm just wondering, did the proposals contain approximate start and completion dates?
I think they can start fairly quickly, and again, and from the time of starting, it would be 8 weeks to completion.
8 weeks.
So basically, two months. It's a lot of loads of material coming in. So again, it will take some time, but I think they're ready to mobilize fairly quickly.
Good. Thank you. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Dolter or Mr. Browning, just looking for some clarification. Are we filling these ponds completely, or are we filling them to the requirement that they should have been dug?
We're filling them completely to recapture the areas of the site.
Okay, so we're filling them in completely. We've been put in a batting cage, catching area, whatever. Why were the ponds there in the first place then? Because I understood that these ponds served a purpose for stormwater management. If we are filling these in completely, then what is taking their place?
Yeah, their intentions were not for stormwater management. They're the balancing of cuts and fills with the site, being it on a floodplain.
Okay.
So in this instance here, so as far as drainage goes, we're essentially bringing it back to its original state. So everything as far as the way the site drained originally before construction is going to be mimicked or whatever with what we're doing here again. So,
yeah, just remind council the plan that was that Mr. Browning designed includes a ditch that would basically the water would flow away from the field itself, go into the ditch, and essentially do the same thing that the ponds, if they had naturally drained, would do, just putting the water back into the brook. Mm-hmm. Again, and it should create no situation that was any worse than prior to the field being built.
Okay, because my understanding had been that we had dug or the contractor had dug half a meter too far or whatever it was, and that we were just bringing it back up to what the requirement was. But we're filling these in completely, but we have no concern over the stormwater management and where that water is going to go for the residents that live in that area.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Yeah, Mr. Browning, it's not just a matter of filling these in. It's my understanding that there's going to be land planing, there's a whole land forming exercise here. That's why it's just not filling, it's land forming to make sure that drainage off that piece of land flows into its natural flow out of the area.
That's
correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Talbot?
Yeah, the last quick point I'll make is that those ponds would never drain because we hit the water table. So that's one of the reasons that they have to be filled in. They would not drain the way they are currently.
Thank you. Councillor Fleming?
Thank you. My last comment as well. If there was no water in them, would we leave them, would we be talking about this right now? If there was no water in those ponds? It wouldn't be a pond, obviously, if there was
It'd be
a
holes.
hole in the ground. Would we be talking about these holes? And then, obviously, the next question is, well, then why don't we just fill them to cover the water where they should be, other than your batting cages?
That was considered. She's like a theme music now.
Somebody's very,
Someone didn't turn their phone off.
There you go.
there we go.
There we go. That was something we did indeed consider, as to what level do we want to fill these, if to their entirety. If we had left them, just fill just above the water table level, for example, we'd still have depressions that wouldn't be able to drain, so they'd just turn into wet bogs.
And I think they would fill more anyways. I do agree with filling them all the way, but
Yeah.
Even if they didn't fill, they probably would have filled with rain anyways,
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so we've had a mover by Councillor Talbot. It is seconded by Councillor McGrath. Council, all in favor that council approve award of construction work to Dexter Construction Company Limited for their bid price of $628,076 HXT extra and the relocation of the capital budget as presented, please signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded? Okay, contrary-minded, Councillor Fleming. Okay, motion is approved. Item 5 on our agenda, in-camera summary reports, Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on October 2nd, council met. There was 3 matters to discuss. 2 of them were involving land, and 1 was on a legal matter. So there is no requirement for council to meet today in camera.
Thank you very much. Now we come to our committee reports. After each report, council may ask questions. After all the reports are presented, I'll call for a motion to approve all reports. And our first report is from our CAO, Mike Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and council will indulge my new format here, so hopefully I don't mess it up. So I have tried to develop the report a little bit more to tie into, in some extent, to our strategic plan on how that goes, so and follow through. So the first item is addressing council and committee engagements. First item is the audit committee meeting that we had. The audit committee met on the 11th September 2025. So the key items that we discussed during the meeting was review of the annual statements for fiscal year 24-25, and these were with the auditor and we looked at the main one was the consolidated statements, and we did run through the non-consolidated statements. The report was reviewed through the audit report with members of the audit committee to develop recommendations for council to consider at today's meeting. So request for decision will be presented later in the agenda for council's recommendation to accept the audited statements. External and regional collaboration. The AMAN's NSFM Joint Executive Committee meeting took place on September 9th. I just wanted to highlight this well, I'm now off the AMA executive, but also because of the number of issues that are going on currently between AMA and NSFM, I think it's important for council to be aware. So this was a joint meeting between the 2 executives. We discussed several issues of concern impacting both of the organizations. We also discussed the proposed bylaw changes coming to NSFM at the fall conference. Again, I have sent previous emails to council about the AMA position, particularly with some of the amendments that have been proposed. I do understand that there may be some amendments coming forward from NSFM on at least one of those motions. So again, I encourage council to review that, and to, if you're attending the council meeting or the conference where the vote will be taken, I certainly encourage you to be aware of the situation and form your opinion accordingly, and ask me any questions if you want prior to that. And I think there may be some changes coming forward to at least one of the motions. So again, it is an interesting time between the relationship between NSFM and AMA, and again, the two organizations are setting a new path forward, and I think it's important for that to happen, for municipal interests to be taken care of, both at the political and at the operational level with the CAOs. Next item is the Northern Nova Scotia Mayors and CAOs meeting, which happened on September 10th. So this involved mayors and CAOs from Amherst, Cumberland, Colchester, Oxford, and Truro. I do think there was a small miscommunications because the town of Stewiacke was not represented, and they probably should have been there. The topics for the discussion included policing, both rural and municipal or towns policing. We talked about the strong mayor's powers, and I think council may have noted that the strong mayors were not part of the legislative agenda during this sitting. So again, who knows if they still may come forward, but again, they weren't in the fall. We also discussed the NSFM bylaw changes and the upgrading of provincially owned infrastructure, and we did generally agree that there are a number of items that the province needs to address with some of the areas they own. I think the one that comes to mind for us is the bridge between Bible Hill and the town. And obviously, we've been waiting for that to be taken care of for a number of years. We also had a brief discussion on the lack of standards for homeless shelters across the province, and this has probably been, subsequent to our meeting. I think some of the shelters and the conditions and some of the issues, both in New Glasgow and Bridgewater, have come forward, and there's been some things identified that obviously council may want to consider going forward as well too. As far as next item is grid information session on September 11th, and GRID stands for the Growth and Renewal of Infrastructure Development Program. So staff attended a session for the next round of grid applications. This is a great program from the province, which we have been able to take advantage this year for the Cobequid redevelopment, which is currently underway. Again, this is the province took a significant position in that project, and has certainly helped us move that forward. The Joint Flood Advisory Committee meeting took place on September 16th. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend this meeting, but this is the first time the committee met since 2023. The lack of water and the condition of the Salmon River will have to be monitored going forward. The committee discussed that. In fact, Mr. Browning and I were having that discussion over the last couple of weeks, given the fact that there's a lot of silt in the river right now. Ice conditions may present some issues for us come the spring with the thaw. So again, that's something to monitor. The committee discussed the flow monitoring contracts that we have in place, the Salmon River Riverbow project, and funding for the different flood management projects that are moving forward. Again, some of the details on the Salmon Riverbow Oxbow project certainly can be provided to council should there be any interest in knowing about that. It's basically, we're looking at taking some of the bends out of the river and straightening them out in some areas where it makes sense and allowing ice to go over top. The committee will be meeting on a more regular basis going forward. And again, I think it's, as we get into with the current river conditions, I think it's pretty important for those meetings to happen. CAO's meetings roundtable with Department of Emergency Management took place on September 18th. Deputy Minister Sandra McKenzie continues to meet with CAOs from around the province to address community level emergency planning. On the past agenda, we talked about drought and water, wildfire situation, the threat and hazard identification and risk assessment surveys, and the next steps. So again, all communities are looking at identifying the major risks that they're facing. Obviously, drought, flooding, and fire are top of those, I think, quite clearly. We also looked at federal, provincial, territorial meetings that are ongoing within the regions. The disaster assistance arrangements and flood mapping were also being discussed. So again, disaster assistance funding is very critical for us during major disasters. We attempted to avail some of that during Fiona, and we were successful in getting a limited amount of funding. We're also discussing regional operations. As council may be aware, how we conduct EMO operations is going to be changed significantly with the new standards that are coming forward. And again, that's something we'll be briefing council as that moves. We've also talked about the Wind West project. Fire services also was very much upfront on this. They discussed a training update and also the fire services review. And I think during the legislature just last week, there was some major steps forward. And in fact, the fire review was on the docket, and some legislation is in place now. And also the province has made a commitment as far as the overall changes to training for firefighters across the province in order to create a common standard with all departments. We also looked at committee developments for the different areas of focus that we need to look at. And again, a lot of discussion on the proposed EMO standards. These continue to be a bit of a concern for the CAOs as they could increase costs at the municipal level, depending on how those are going to go. And I know council's aware that East Hants has approached our REMO to become part of it. And again, we will be bringing some to council on that in the next little while to make that decision. Again, that's probably a discussion that we have to have jointly with the county to make sure one of us aren't saying yes and one's saying no. So make sure that we can give East Hants a unified answer. As far as internal operations and oversight goes, Rec Finance Committee happened on September 9th, which I will now be reporting to council on. Regular monthly meeting, this was a regular monthly meeting for the committee. A review of financial operations were up to the end of July 2025. Discussions on ongoing operations and combined statement presentations of the NSP and the rec operations were discussed as well. We still have some concerns about how shared labor are being distributed between the two statements, and that's something that they're still working on. TCPEP monthly board meeting did happen on September 17th. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, and I did send my regrets. We'll attempt to get to the next meeting. Rec board meeting September 15th. We continue to work with the new board on operation and governance of the rec and the NSPE. As far as professional training, development and training, there was a tax policy assessment conference on September 16th and 17th. So this was an international conference of property tax assessment policy and practice. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Practitioners from across Canada and internationally were there. It was very interesting to hear some of the processes out there. We certainly learned a lot of different things from on assessment and taxation, how it was being applied across Canada. So this was attended by two members of council, Councillor Talbot and Councillor Graham, as well as myself with a couple of staff members as well. Interesting to learn that PVSC, our tax assessment is probably on the forefront of tax assessment across Canada. The standard is to have annual reevaluations, which I think Nova Scotia is one of the only provinces where that's happening. So again, it's, again, we pay for the service, but it does appear to be we're getting a fairly good return for our contributions. The Association of Municipal Administrators Conference happened September 23rd to 26th. There was 153 delegates from across the province, both CAOs and staff. Deputy ministers from municipal affairs as well as Department of Emergency Management made presentations. Municipal finance officers conducted a session to deal with some of the upcoming and changing financial issues for municipalities. CAO Roundtable was also happened to discuss some of the concerns the CAOs have, and this was a closed session for CAOs only. General sessions focused on mental health, safety, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, enhanced communications, enhancing funding opportunities, emergency management, and an overview of municipal legal issues. So again, I'd like to thank the organizers from the Cape Breton municipalities, in fact, all of Cape Breton, which combined to put put off the event. It was very good. Just want to update on some of the strategic initiatives and communications. So with respect to equity and anti-racism strategy, while the consultant's contract ended in July, it was felt by regional staff that the documents required revision before they could be moved forward. Staff identified several issues, including the use of non-local stock photos, language that focused too heavily on the town of Truro rather than regional scope, and statements that needed to be fact-checked. Staff leads have since reworked both documents to ensure they are accurate, regionally focused, and accessible. A joint presentation has been prepared and will be delivered to all councils, after which a strategy will be brought forward for formal adoption. This is now expected to be in November, and we've learned this morning, I think, that the county council still, or the county staff are still reviewing some things, so we'll update if that timing changes. So it may be, we assume it will still be November, but we will report back if that changes. Public transportation, so the town and county are developing the regional transportation feasibility plan with the contractor that we've hired. Public engagement now is completed, and staff from the town and county have continued to meet with the contractor to narrow in on project objectives and further define coverage areas for town and county. The original deadline was September 2025, has now been extended to December 2025 to allow for follow-up public engagement regarding routing and coverage. Then that's supposed to take place in October. An information item will be brought forward in the October, meeting, in the October Committee of the Whole meeting for broader council discussion. So again, we hope to have that as part of the Committee of the Whole coming up. So with respect to number 2 construction battalion, the unveiling of the memorial and the renaming ceremony and the commemoration event are anticipated to take place following the completion of the revitalization project, which for the most part is there now. We are pretty well substantively complete, except for a few minor items. This event was originally scheduled to be August 1st, but has been postponed to November 8th, 2025 to ensure site readiness. Construction work on the memorial area is expected to start in early October through Engineering and Public Works. Parks, Recreation, and Culture are leading the organization of the day's events. We met with the African Nova Scotian Strategy Committee, and we will be getting advertising and the word out and invitations out very shortly on the event. And again, we certainly would like the community and all people involved with the project to come and see it. Again, just to remind council, this is not the major opening event, which will take place in the spring with all the sponsors being present. Regional tourism strategic planning implementation. Following council approval of the regional strategic tourism plan for the Truro Colchester region in March, staff have been working to implement short-term implementation plan, which includes the establishment of a society to govern the marketing levy funds and implement the regional strategic planning. Council approved the society's documents in September, and staff are now working with legal to have the society registered. The board is also in the process of hiring an executive director to carry out the work of the society. Urban deer management. In August, staff submitted a proposal to Nova Scotia Department of Resources to request approval to pilot a new urban hunting site in Truro. Town received approval of this site in September, which we were very pleased to get. This new site will see a more urban approach added to the overall controlled managed hunt. Hunting on the site began the first week of October and runs until October 31st. Property owners within 184 meters of this site received letters of notification. Hunting on town's additional sites will begin in mid-October and are expected to run to early December. The town continues to collaborate with DNRR, Dalhousie University, Feed Nova Scotia, and Millbrook First Nation on the program, and we'd like to thank those partners. Fleet electrification study, as outlined as a recommended action in the town's community energy emissions plan. The town is undertaking a fleet electrification study on its lights, medium-duty vehicles to determine the feasibility of converting some of the town's municipally owned vehicles from gas-powered to electric. Phase 1 of the study is fully funded through the Climate Ready Infrastructure Service, the CRIS program. The final report on Phase 1 was received in September and is currently being reviewed by staff. The town has received 70% funding for Phase 2 of this project through the Low Carbon Communities Fund, with an additional 25% of the funding coming from the town's inclusion in the Quest Canada Net Zero Communities Accelerator Program. Phase 2 will get underway in the fall. Recover Initiative, the Truro's Farmers Market. Town continues to collaborate with Recover Initiative through its building transformation program to investigate a retrofit of the market hall on Yonge Street, which houses the Truro's Farmers Market. This program will provide the town with a comprehensive assessment of the building, outline potential efficiency upgrades and retrofits to consider. Staff met with Recover and the Truro's Farmers Market in mid-August to begin the project. At this point, the RFP has been finalized and will be issued in the next few weeks to hire a consultant to lead the project. Climate Risk and Resiliency Plan. Town's RFP to develop a climate risk and resilience plan closed in mid-September. Staff reviewed the proposal and are looking forward to moving this project forward in the next year. The Climate Risk and Resiliency Plan will assess the town's vulnerability to climate change impacts, including extreme heat, flooding, wildfires, invasive species, and storms, and will develop strategies to mitigate risks and build resilience. The final reports are expected in fall 2026. Funding for this program was provided through FCM's Climate Readiness Programs and Processes Program. And again, you look at all those risks, I think we've suffered over all of those within the last 5 years or so. Just on the communications projects, just want council to take notice of the video series that's being done for Truro's Police. There was a 9-part series put together by our communications coordinator on Did You Know? And it provides the public with a good overview of all the things that Truro Police do, including drone operations, dispatch, canine, and firearms training. So we'll be, videos are released weekly, and so far we've gotten a fairly good response, and they'll continue until mid-November. So voluntary water conservation measures. So staff have collaborated with the Department of Engineering and Public Works to develop a public notice highlighting the voluntary conservation measures currently in effect. These include posting notices on town's website, social media, media releases, and Truro Connects advisory. And I think Mr. Browning may have more to say on the water conservation measures. Final item I have, sorry for it is long. Just to let council and the public know, and there'll be more to follow on this, 150th anniversary council soup lunch that we're planning for Sunday, 9th of November, 2025. And we ask everybody to, if they are so inclined, that's to come to the Truro Fire Hall and enjoy a free bowl of soup and a roll to go with it. And that'll happen from 11 to 1 p.m. So again, a good thing to do, maybe after you get out of church, you can wander over to the fire hall and get a free bowl of soup. Madam Mayor, also we have the funding programs overview for council's review, what we've got approved and what is pending for council's review. And that's probably the longest report I've ever read. So I may have a few adjustments to make to my new format.
Thank you.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. Respectfully submitted. That's my report.
Thank you. It's been a busy month for everybody. I just wanted to say about, I've had a lot of residents concerned about the reservoir and our water supply, and sending photos, and I know Director Browning is going to give a detailed report on that shortly. You know, being mayor, it's more than flag raisings and speaking engagements. It's also about having citizens feeling safe in the community. And in the past while, the unhoused situation has seemed to escalate. I've been in touch with Mayor Mitchell from Bridgewater this weekend, as well as Mayor Dix on the weekend as well, and spoke with MLA Ritzy. I've had an enormous amount of correspondence from residents in the town, dealing with the unhoused and not feeling safe and safety issues. The municipality is not in the position to provide housing. We have to work with our partners federally and provincially for that. We want housing, and anyone who's watched our council knows we are trying to get housing here. It's important. We have to have it. I do know that the Connection Church on 38 Pleasant Street there, Souls Harbor, so to speak, with Matt Forrest, has never been at full capacity. There are rules to go in there, and you have to abide by those rules. But if you abide by those rules, there is a bed for those that need it. I just wanted to say that. It's been a very, very stressful September, and October is seeing the same. Not in a bad way, just trying to get things done for the best for our community. All of us here want the best for our community. That's why we serve on council. Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly lots going on. Mr. Dolter, in defense of your new format, I do like it. I like the alignment with the strategic initiatives. I find that much easier to digest. I'll start off with the easy process question. On the funding program overview, we have some grant applications that are outstanding since as early as March of 2024. At what point do we give up on those and say that, do we wait, is it that the program, wait for the program to close, or are some of these open-ended? It just seems like it's a long time to be waiting.
Typically, we do usually wait for rejection letters. I think some of the programs do remain open. I don't know, Ms. Grant, if you got any details on some of those, but I think they are ongoing, but we could withdraw them, but again, I think in some cases, we know that we may not get funding, but we have not received an official notification that we're not.
Yeah, this is a sort of a joint initiative, the funding program overview from all departments. So we don't take anything off the spreadsheet until we're notified by the director that it should come off for reasons that they've heard back or otherwise, or the program is closed and it's moved forward. So.
Okay, thank you. And the next question would be on the Joint and Flood Advisory Committee. Obviously sitting on PAC, all, the councillors and the committee members on that committee, we hear a lot about concerns about, floodplain development, especially now there's a development out on Roby Street. Does this committee, the Joint Flood Advisory Committee, also raise any concerns about development on the floodplains? Do they get involved in any of the mitigation strategies? Can you just maybe elaborate a little bit on the focus of that committee, I guess?
The committee itself focuses mainly on issues with the Salmon River itself. There have been some discussions in past meetings. Again, it was 2023 since the last one to talk about some of the potential, some of the developments and certainly some of the flood mitigation strategies, both town and county. Typically, we have not been, and given the infrequency, they usually meet quarterly. We don't usually bring development applications to them. We do have open discussions. Typically, if there are concerns with the county on some of our development planning, if there is potential floodplain infringements that may require their attention. So that wouldn't be in all cases, but in some cases. So the committee itself, I guess to answer your question, doesn't get directly involved in those development applications as such. We do look at the general issues around the Salmon River and how to reduce potential risks of flooding and some of the dredging projects and the salt marsh involvement. Those are examples of some of the activity that's been ongoing. So mainly it's project-based and discussing some of the ongoing concerns. Obviously, one of the things that will come up at the next meeting is some discussion around potential mitigation for the spring thaw, to see where that might go and try to do some overview. One of the committee members was flying, for example, drone footage over the river just to look where the ice jams were occurring back probably in 22-23, just to look where we had potential risks and look at things that we might want to address where we could.
Okay, so then with other developments that are along the Salmon River, like the Stanfields development, if it ever gets moving along, would that be something that the committee would look into, and the potential impacts to the river there with their cut and fill strategy, their stormwater management plan?
I think that's mainly been addressed through, and I think that for the Stanfield's, example, I think the county did raise some issues with, or some questions about the, where the cutting was taking place, and some of the filling was taking place as far as across the river, because it was in Bible Hill on land owned by the proponent. But that particular issue was not brought to the flood committee. And to be honest, I don't think there are any planning staff on the committee. There are some engineering staff, but again, that has not been the mandate of the committee to review development applications to this point.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the rec, you mentioned that there were some financial documents reviewed there. The rec board had requested in the summer that for an extension of their financial documents, because of course it's a new board. They wanted to make sure that everything was in order. Have they got everything in order now? Or are they aligned?
So the audited statements have been presented to the board and approved and recommended to go to the annual general meeting. So the delay that the rec board requested was just simply to delay the meeting to present the annual statements. The statements themselves have been completed, have been presented, and again, they formally to be approved, they have to go to the AGM, but they have been reviewed by the board and accepted. So again, so from our perspective, the part that means the most to us is we had a set of audited statements to conclude with our financial statements, because last year it caused a delay in us producing our statements. So we had approved audited statements to present to our auditors to be included in our consolidated statements.
Okay, and we're confident that moving forward that there won't be said delays anymore, that they'll be on board? Perfect.
Yeah, I'm confident we'll keep them on schedule. Again, there's a number of things that made that situation what it was, but again, we certainly are significantly more engaged in how things are going.
Okay, and then my last question is just about the deer. You mentioned that we do have that in-town site that has been approved by DNRR, which is hopefully positive. But we've been talking about the deer for a long time. We've been looking at a lot of the data from pellet counts and such, and it does seem both from the data and anecdotally that the hunt is not working. If this new site also proves to be ineffective, have we looked at, or are we considering other measures in the future, such as using birth control for the deer to, anything of that nature?
Right now, what we're using, the hunt, from my, and again, I'd have to have another discussion with the province. As far as I'm aware, the hunt is the only approved method of reducing population numbers at this point. Contraceptive, there was a pilot project being conducted by the University of Victoria. We have not seen the results of that. Contraceptive methods are used commonly in the U.S., but they have not been approved in Canada.
Okay.
So again, we are going to do some checking. I can see Ms. Grant's writing a note there. So yeah, we'll reach out to the province. I imagine they probably are looking at that. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that people hear that people do to relocate deer, those types of things, but the advice we've gotten through the experts that the province has is that those are not good for the animals. Not that I'm sure a lot of people say, well, hunting them is not either, but again, it is a humane method for reducing numbers. And again, that's the focus of our hunt, is to make sure that it's safe and it is humane.
Okay, and we want to make sure that we're reminding people to not be feeding the deer, as that does add to the problem. I noticed that the municipality of the County of Colchester recently added a new bylaw against feeding the deer. Now, I haven't looked into how they enforce that. Have we had any conversations with the county about how how they plan to enforce that bylaw or any consequences?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is that something maybe we could investigate just to see if there's something they're doing that we could maybe adopt in order to help move this project
Yeah,
along?
we can have that conversation. I can't imagine they're doing anything different than we do. I mean, basically for feeding, we need the public to report instances where it's occurring. And again, to be clear, the bylaw officer has to witness it happening, and then we issue, we can issue a summary offense ticket. Again, that's, so far we've only had one case where we've had enough information in order to issue a ticket. So again, people talk a lot about people feeding the deer, but again, they have to make us aware of those situations in order for us to enforce the bylaw.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Grant?
Quick question again regarding the rec. I'm just wondering, the work of the interim board that has been tasked with serving us at this time, are we going to receive a report?
Councillor, we're going to be having a joint meeting with the,
Yeah, so,
I was getting after those guys for their phone, I apologize.
yeah, so,
I was wondering, not just for council, but I would like to know the answer for council, but also will there be an opportunity for the public to have access to the work that's been done by that committee?
The rec board is a society board, it's not a public board, okay? So there are different rules where council is a public board, a governance board, it's a town council, but obviously it's public. The rec is a society, no different than, of any other nonprofit, registered nonprofit. So again, they're not, they don't hold public meetings. It's not in their bylaws. So the information is not necessarily public. Council has members on there, and there's citizen representation for that society. So again, the mayor mentioned there will be and it's something that I'll be following up after the meeting with council. There's a joint meeting of council with the rec board planned or announced for the 14th of October. So that would be week after this week. So again, the timing of that will be sent to council. It's going to be either at 5 or 6 o'clock. I believe it's at 6. But again, I just got this information on Sunday, so I didn't get it out to council. So that will be shared. And then the rec board will be sitting down with the two councils to discuss some of the ongoing issues with the rec operation.
Is the AGM public?
the AGM.
The AGM is a public
And
meeting.
that is going to be on Monday, the 20th of October, in the Millbrook Room at 5 p.m.
So is that an opportunity for the public to ask questions?
Typically,
Yeah, I think there is a segment.
Yeah.
I know though, I try to go to all the AGMs. There is a segment sometimes to ask a question, so you probably could ask that at that time, maybe.
yeah, I'm not certain of that.
Yeah.
on what level
But it is, a public meeting.
But it's not for example, it's not a town hall. Typically,
Yeah.
for an AGM, basically the outlook is presented, financial statements are presented. I don't know if there are if it's open to public comment, similar to our public meetings. So again, I don't believe it is, but again, I'll have that checked into.
That would be great. I've had some interest from the community who have been asking about the work that the interim board is doing, and they do have some questions, and it is a significant investment by our community and taxpayers, so there should, it would be beneficial for
Yeah.
citizens to have the opportunity to understand what's happening there.
Deputy
Thank
Mayor,
you.
I'm sorry, Councillor, are you finished? Yes? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, my questions are along the same line. A lot of it's been answered, but, I did want to know when council will receive a report on the financial position of the Rath East Link Community Center. So I hear that it'll be October 14th, hopefully. Is that correct? There will be a financial
Yeah, I
position
believe
report there?
they should, that should be part of it, requesting a financial overview, financial update, yes.
Okay. The other thing is this council in the town of Truro supported some events that they oversee, such as the Stampede. And I would also like to know, a result of that investment, what were the numbers, how many people participated, what kind of numbers did it bring into town? Because, the town doesn't have a lot of extra money, but we do want to invest it well, and we want to invest it into our community that will help build the community and also, make it a better place to live. So that's a good event, I believe, to support, but I also want to know the results of our support on that. Was it a success? So
Yeah.
how do we hear about that?
Yeah, I would suspect the meeting on the 14th, you won't have the final results of the Stampede yet at that point. But that's something I think that at the joint meeting, council should be very clear in requesting an overview of the event,
Right.
which is what, again, I'll say, council was asked, both councils asked for last year's event, which I don't
Correct.
think they received.
Correct.
So
We did
again, it's
not
something that
receive.
we do need, and we must insist on that we do have a.
Yeah, we need that
Breakdown.
information if we're going to consider future requests, right?
Yeah,
Was it
maybe-
a success? Do we want to support it again?
One of the things I think we need to change in our process as well too, which I think we do for our grant policy, is that the rec itself has to provide a detailed budget before, when they're coming to the town and county, to outline where our contribution that they're requesting fits into the overall
Absolutely.
funding of the event itself. To this
Right.
date, we've we've provided grants without requesting a detailed budget for the event. And I think that's something that we should get, given the amount of money we're putting into some of the activities.
Absolutely agree. And the other thing too is it's just not the Stampede. There are other events, whether it be a world championship or this or that, we special funding is requested for, so all those things. When it comes to the urban deer management, I just was wondering, that new site, I'm kind of excited about that new site because it is more into the urban core, and hopefully will give some control of those pesky things in the urban core. So are we going to get a report at some time on that? I know the hunt was supposed to start the first week of October. I don't expect a report now, but I'm hoping that Mr. Dolte, you'll report to council at next month's
Yeah, we'll
council
provide,
meeting what took place at our new site.
we'll provide numbers in the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Talbot.
Yes, Mike, I just wanted to confirm, the joint meeting, did you say October 14th?
Yes.
You should note that the joint police board meeting is that date as well. And
Okay.
there are 3 people on council that,
Okay, again, I just found about this date yesterday.
Yeah.
So I will make Mr. Troke aware of that, so we may have to look at an alternate date, because again, and it may work out well for me on the basis I won't be here on the 14th, which I didn't include in my report. I am going on 2 weeks vacation starting tomorrow. So I would miss the 14th. I would prefer that it be delayed another week. So I will, right after the meeting, I will get in hold of him to see if we can delay it by a week, to see if anything's driving that. What was it? The AGM was what date?
The 20th.
20th. So we'll try to do it prior to the AGM.
okay. And the
So
other thing
I'll make contact with him to see if we can do that.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I'm a little puzzled over, because my time on the rec board, I was of the opinion that a society had no requirement to report back to the public, like some of the questions we're getting. Did I misunderstand?
No, you're correct. I mean, as a society, as I did indicate, their meetings are closed, so the AGM is considered a public session. But that's why I'm not sure whether or not, as an outside society, whether or not they can be questioned by the general public. I don't think that's the case. But again, that's something I'll confirm for council on that. I don't, again, that's,
I was trying to remember last year's AGM, if they took questions or not, but I can't recall.
I don't believe they did,
Yeah,
and
it did not happen.
typically it doesn't happen, right? Because if you're a member, typically, again, an NSFM or AMA is a good example, most of the delegates sitting on the floor are members of the association, so the members can raise questions, but the general public in Truro are not members of the society.
I would encourage everyone to go to that AGM, though. It'd be good. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton, through you to Mr. Dolte. The length of your report gives us all these extra questions and comments. I think this is the longest comment session we've had with your, in regards to your report. But my questions regard to the equity and anti-racism strategy and the consultant's report. And as you noted that our staff, I guess, have made some adjustments to that report. And my question is, once our staff does the adjustments, does it go back to the consultant for them to look at the?
I don't believe that will be the case. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, we did flip the revised version back to the consultant, and are having that discussion with them now.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to hire a consultant and then us change their report
Yeah,
without them reviewing it. Yeah,
I think,
thank you.
I think there, obviously, there were some concerns with the format and some of the content.
Yeah, I think in the presentation of joint council, when that report is presented, that they'll outline the rationale for why the changes were made.
Great, thank you.
Just the last question before we move on to Director Russell. At the police board meetings, was there a discussion in the past about looking into a crisis community navigator?
We did, we have had previous discussions on that. I know the chief Chief McNeil's had some discussion with the town of Kentville. I think at the time we determined that that position wasn't going to do or have the same impact that it had in Kentville, but again, that would be, I guess, up for if the police board wanted to bring that forward again. Chief McNeil, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I don't know, other than what you mentioned. It was brought up the police board a couple of times. We looked at, is it best to be positioned in the police service? Maybe, maybe not. And I don't know if Kentville is still, their navigator moved on to another jobs, and I don't know if they filled their spot yet. But
One of the things, although it will take some time, is one of the things that's being brought forward with the police review is this multi-layered policing that they're talking about. One of those layers is the non-police position that would theoretically have some involvement in that type of policing, and but again, clearly we don't know what direction the province is going to take on that, because it's kind of vaguely, it's provided within the review, but there's no real clarity on what it means. But it does talk about those type of multi-layer policing, which would have non-police staff members embedded in order to provide some of the additional services that aren't directly policing related. So that may come out of it at the end of the day.
Councillor Talbot.
Yes, and as I recall the discussions, at the end of the day, we left it up to the chief because it was an operational call, but there was some strong thinking that the Kentville model worked because of who they hired, and that if this was to be an approach, maybe it should be a provincial approach and not a one-off from certain municipalities. So that's the way we had left those discussions.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Our next report is Corporate Services, and our Director Russell is going to present the report. Director Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The attached financial statement provides an overview of the financial position of the town of Truro operations up to the end of August. It has been brought to my attention that part of the financial statements didn't get included in your package, so I will recirculate them after this meeting. For revenue, at the end of August, total revenue stands at $18.5 million, which is higher than last year for the same time frame, and represents 46.37% of annual budget. This reflects an increase of approximately $500,000 compared to last month's report. Since there's no concerns with the numbers reported to date and no new developments on the variances beyond what was previously explained in last month's report. For expenses, as of the end of August, total expenses amount to $14.6 million, representing 36.58% of the annual budget. This figure is lower than the same period last year. When comparing year-to-date expenses against an annual budget, I focus on identifying variances that are significantly above or below expectations, assuming a consistent monthly spending pattern. For August, I pay particular attention to any variances more than 41.7% of the budget, which corresponds to 5 months out of the 12-month fiscal year. So with that in mind, a few items are noted below. In general administration, grants of $267,874 were paid year-to-date, which represents 53.4% of budget. Professional fees are at 50.5% of budget, driven by the timing of the annual insurance renewals, the quarterly payment of PVSC assessment services, and consulting fees incurred to date. The Regional Economic Network expense is at 50%, representing invoices received for Q1 and Q2. Finance system costs of $53,281 is over budget by $2,281. This is an annual bill. The Rath East Link Community Center is at 50.26%, representing invoices received for Q1 and Q2. For police services, professional development is at $33,651, or 66% of budget, primarily due to the purchase of ammunition for annual firearms trainings and qualifications. Under engineering and public works, professional development is at 86.8% of budget, or $43,384, driven by subscription renewals and attendance at conferences. Traffic management is at $155,998, or 62.9% of budget due to the seasonality of the expense. This expense is higher than the same period last year due to the timing of the invoicing. We expect this line item to be within budget for the year. Parks, Recreation, and Culture. Victoria Park Pool is showing at 60% of budget, which is reasonable as the expense is seasonal. Active community spending is at 84.4% of budget, which is also primarily a seasonal expense. I've also attached a copy of the capital budget and spending to August 31st. Values are shown at total cost. However, some of the purchases may be partially funded by grants. I've attached a column to indicate if a project is 100% complete with no further spending expected. For procurement, I provided a list of projects that were awarded in August. The projects have been previously approved through the budgeting process, and many of these can also be seen in the capital update report. The amounts below exclude HST. The CAO went through a number of my other updates, so I'll just focus on the ones he didn't mention. Effective October 1st, 2025, the meal per diem rates were updated to $20 for breakfast, which previously $15, $25 for lunch, previously $15, and $40 for supper, previously $30. Incidentals remain the same at $17 per overnight stay. These changes were done to bring the town in line with other municipalities and government entities across the province and to ensure people aren't being asked to pay out of pocket for expenses incurred while traveling on town business. Our procurement officer continues to work with the province on the library pigeon issue, but there's no new progress to report yet. Skipping down a couple, effective September 1st, 2025, the province implemented new OH&S regulations, which is Occupational Health and Safety Regulations, under the Stronger Workplaces for Nova Scotia Act. The town has revised its workplace violence and harassment policy in response to capture these changes. We are responsible to ensure staff receive training and that they are aware of these updates, and this is being coordinated through our Work Hub platform through Toolbox Talks. IT continues working through the project list, most recently completing the replacement of battery backup units for 2 main communication rooms. They are approximately halfway through their annual computer replacements and continue to collaborate with municipalities across the Maritimes by hosting monthly virtual meetings for municipal IT and municipal police IT. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Director Russell. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Russell, for the report. So you've noted some overages, but I just want to point out that despite some of these individual overages, we are overall under budget, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. So I want that kept in mind as I proceed with my next questions. Just regarding some of the individual items you mentioned, some of them are seasonal, which makes sense, but there are some others, like say the grants or the invoices from the rec. There's no real explanation there on the discrepancy. Is that something that we have available?
I guess with the rec specifically and the Regional Economic Network, we've received both Q1 and Q2 bills, so that makes sense that they're at 50% for the year.
Okay.
The grants, I believe, that number will go up as the year goes on. I think in October we issued the second round of tax bills, so we'll see some of those grants going up due to that.
So this is not the municipal grants, this is like the tax grants for low income, is that correct?
No,
Or-
these are the grants, like we discussed earlier, for the library, along with some of the,
Okay.
yeah.
I would have expected that once we, aside from exceptions like today or the curling club previously, that we would just see all of the grants sort of paid out once they were approved by council after the budget. Is that not how that works?
Most of them do, but there are a few that are based on when their taxes are charged. They get an offsetting amount.
Okay.
So that's why you don't see the other half. You'll see that probably next month.
Okay, but overall, we're operating under budget.
Yeah.
That is the important part. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Councillor Graham.
My question is with regard to the exemption rate that we offer to homeowners on their property taxes. Currently, it's just over, the threshold is just over 32,000 to qualify for the exemption, and you receive $258. My question is probably more suited to our CAO. He's been here longer. I was wondering when that threshold has last been reviewed, and I'd like to make a request that it be reviewed again, because I think that there are probably very few homeowners accessing our program when the threshold is just at 32,000.
Yeah, that's based on the CRA number for low income, I believe. That's where that number comes from.
I'd have to take it away.
Yeah, the program's been in place long time before I got here, but I know we do adjust it based on any of the annual adjustments that CRA makes. And again, that's kind of where that rate came from, right? And I think that's where the threshold, but we can come back with that. But I think it is adjusted on a regular basis when the federal government changes that income level, right?
Do we have the liberty as a town to review that on our own and make our own decision? Like 32,000 is a pretty low.
The answer is yes, we do. I think the reason we use that is it's seen as an objective measure based on Stats Canada data and that. So again, we could, but a different rate would be somewhat arbitrary. I don't know how we would determine what that level would be. That would be the challenge, right? So I'm pretty sure that's the rate we've used, but again, I'm saying I'm pretty sure because I'd have to absolutely verify it.
Yes, I'd have to verify too. I do understand there is a policy in that it's increased based on CPI
Yeah.
on occasion. Yeah, I'm hearing it changes annually based on the policy.
Well, I guess I'd like to request that we do look into it and see where we're at and see what changes we might be able to consider there. How many people are even accessing the,
It's 180.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 180 or 200 and some people. Again, we can bring that information back to council.
that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Director Russell. Our next report is from our fire services and Chief Blois Curry. Chief.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Council. Last month, we received 111 alarms. We had 5 fires, 5 structure fires, 1 car fire, 1 grass fire, 8 motor vehicle collisions. We attended 23 fire alarms, 60 medical calls, 6 burning complaints. We assisted Truro Police 3 times. We had 2 propane leaks, 1 basement flooded, and we had no rain, so that was a mechanical issue, and 1 mutual aid. Last month, the fire inspector conducted 8 inspections. He did 6 follow-up inspections. He approved 4 gaming and alcohol licenses, did 1 fire investigation. Our fire prevention officer facilitated a 1-week inspector certification course in Dartmouth last month, and he is still hosting and mentoring a fire inspector from the municipality of Pictou under the certification program. This week's Fire Prevention Week. I'd like to let everybody know that, and you'll see us out and around, and we'll be doing some of the schools. And this theme this year is emphasizing on charging lithium-ion batteries at home and the hazards associated with it. The fire service will be active in the community, as you'll see coming up this week. Fire training for the month was on our first 5 minutes, hose lays, stretching lines, and water flow. And if I may add, I'd like to thank everybody that helped and took part in our Walk in Our Boots campaign last week, and for everybody that helped with the Skylar Blackie run on the weekend. And I'd like to thank one of our counselors for running it and succeeding, and all the participants that helped out to make it successful. Also, I missed last month, but I wanted to make aware that we hired 3 new firefighters. We had Ben Simply, I say it wrong when we said it wrong when we did him up this year. One of our volunteers also moved up the ranks, is now one of our full-time firefighters, which was really nice. And we were fortunate to hire our first female in Truro, and her name is Michelle Mabey. So I'd just like to welcome them too and let council know that they're now on staff and active. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I did mention the hiring and my mayor's message, and I was away for the Walk in Your Boots, but I did make it up to the Skylar Blackie Challenge. It was great to see the support from the community and all the wonderful people that showed up for that. Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, Chief, I'm just wondering in terms of emergency preparedness with the wildfire situation, and particularly thinking, you know, of our gym, the park there. Do we have a plan if how, you know, we would fight this if and when it happened?
We do have what I would suggest is a basic plan of where we would bring in our resources, where we would stage, where we would start our process of doing the attack. There's no way that we can lay out a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plan. But on the bigger scale, yes, we do here in the town. I do have a plan that we would use in the event. Also, when we upgrade, God forbid, we have to upgrade to the larger plan here in the municipality in Colchester, we do have a large wildfire plan that's put together. And I mean, police chief and we all sat on the committee and help with that. And that shows all of our evacuation routes and where we would send people. And all the stuff that you would hear going out now in the media with the wildfires down in the valley, you know, all your sending your people here, evacuation notice, that's all part of the bigger plan. So, yes.
One of the things just as well too, in the activity we're doing with the CAOs around with Department of Emergency Management, the province is much more engaged in our staffing almost around the clock, their emergency operations center. So if we got into a wildfire situation that was larger and the province would be engaged very quickly and certainly would bring in DNR resources where they can. Obviously, the current situation with what's going on in the valley, they've got a lot of people that are really busy, but again, we are working closely with DNR on the potentials that any wildfire in this area, in the region.
Yep. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Chief Curry, for your report. And congratulations to our new hires. I got the chance to speak with Mr. Donovan at the Walk in Our Boots event. He's really stoked on the opportunity, and as one of his colleagues said, he lives and breathes fire service. This is a dream come true for him, so congratulations to him and to all. At that event, I did get to see our new wildfire truck that was donated by the province, which really cool. Also got a chance to chat with Chief Campbell from, I believe, Salmon River, and he was talking about their new truck that they have and the SAM system that they have in there, sort of almost an automation to help, better the fire response, make it safer. Not that I want to spend our money in advance here, but I know we just got a fairly new truck. At some point, what's your estimated timeline for additional trucks coming in, and do you think that they would have the SAM system?
I'd have to look a little bit more into the SAM system, but as far as bringing trucks from the outside departments in the event of an emergency, is that what you're talking about? Their wildland fire equipment, their trucks, their engines?
That's always important to know, but I'm speaking specifically about replacement of our fleet in town of Truro. So if one of the trucks, I don't know, the frame breaks. Not that that would ever happen, but if we have issues like that have occurred, if we needed to replace something in the town of Truro fleet, would we be looking at something more modern that might have this? Now, Chief Campbell did say that this is the first of its kind east of Ontario, I believe he said. So it's not widespread yet, but it did seem really interesting, and I think it would be a valuable addition to the service.
Well, most of our trucks are on our fleet plan that we look at every year and hopefully work forward. I know one of the things that we're working on now is our capital long-term projects in our fleet. So our equipment will also be part of that. We were fortunate enough, and I know a big thank you has to go to the government for actually handing us that truck over, and hopefully when we have it completed and looking all nice and pretty like a truck from Truro, we'll get them a thank you and a picture out to them. But as we move forward and replace equipment, we'll always take into consideration those new systems and what would help us best here in Truro. We just received that truck, so that wouldn't be something we would be looking at replacing in the near future.
Yeah.
But it would just go along with our fleet schedule for all of the town, actually.
Yeah, I did joke with Chief Campbell, Mike, don't let Chief Curry see this because he's going to want it in the next budget. But it was a really neat system, so I wanted to bring it to your attention. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure Chief Campbell would be happy to demonstrate for you.
Yes, I'll definitely be looking at it.
But yeah, we can maybe look into that as we go forward. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Thomas?
Yeah, yes, so this is Fire Prevention Week, and you mentioned this lithium-ion battery thermal runaway kind of, when you're charging batteries, they begin to heat and they won't stop. And so if that's being emphasized, will there be something on the Facebook page, town Facebook page or something like that?
Yes,
Thank
it'll
you.
be not only in the town of Truro, but across the province. We all do the same message every year. We do
Okay,
different
cool.
messages.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of advertising in homes and stuff
Great.
for that matter.
Is it a huge threat? Have you ever answered a call in Truro on that? Like,
Off the top of my head, I can talk about 3 in the last 2 years.
Is that
We had an
right?
electric bike fire that was caused by the lithium-ion batteries. We had a cell phone being charged under a pillow, which overheated and caught fire.
So you should obviously charge them on a hard surface that's
Right.
slow to ignite, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not charge e-bikes inside and different things
Right,
like that.
but a lot of people plug their phone in at night and, right? Yada, yada. Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Deputy. Now we're going to talk with Director Fox. He's going to speak with us about his report, so take it away, Director Fox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is the Planning Development Services Report for September 2025. Planning projects, the office consolidation of the town's planning documents is completed, so this is an update of the print and online versions of the town's municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw with all the amendments up to and including the West Prince area amendments approved by council in July. Any councillors and planning advisory committee members who are looking to have updated documents, paper copies, should contact our department directly, and we'll make sure that you get an updated copy of those plans. Update of the town subdivision bylaw. Planning staff are undertaking a review of the town subdivision bylaw. The bylaw, which was last updated a long time ago, back in 1998, forms part of the town's community plan. It needs to be updated to ensure the document aligns with current provincial legislation and the objectives and policies of the town's planning documents. Planning applications, we have 9 applications active and on file. One at 656 Yonge, one at 730 Yonge Street, one at 373 Roby Street, one at 67 Inglis, one at 37 Braemar, one at Rexdale Ford and Marshland, one at McClure's Mills and Lower Truro Road, one at 245 Roby Street, and one at 423 Roby Street. Site plan approval applications, we have 3 applications, one at 161 McLean Street, one at 9 McLean, and one at 43 Willow Street. In terms of building statistics, for September 2024, we were at $29,395,895. For September 2025, we were at $35,467,146. Active bylaw violations by property, for September 2025, we had 51 active files during the month, and 22 of those have been resolved. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Fox? Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Fox, for your report. Just wanted to ask a process question similar to what I asked the CAO earlier. When we are talking about these development agreement applications, I know some of these were as far as step 3, the applicant withdrew and they are undergoing potential redesign, as you have mentioned. Do we wait for the developer to say, you know what, I'm not proceeding before this comes off the list, or do they just live on the list in perpetuity?
They don't live on the list in perpetuity, but what we typically would do is if a file remains inactive for a long period of time, typically a year, we would reach out to the developer and inform them that their application is the file will be closed. But most of these would have had someone been in contact with us at some point to say that they're still in process, or it hasn't been a full year, so that's why they remain on the list.
Okay, perfect. Just like to know that there is process and that we're not just letting things drop. I wanted to ask, and this, I kind of hate to ask, because about 9 McLean Street, the site plan approval, I hate to ask because I don't remember where I got the information from, but I remember talking with somebody who said, oh, that land can't be developed, which is why it was having difficulty being sold. But I see the site plan approval. Well, not me, but whoever brought that information to me. Is that incorrect? Or maybe the standards have changed and or the legislation has changed and now it's developable? Are you aware of anything that would have prevented development at that site previously?
I think the challenge with that site was that it was a large property, but most of the property is not developable.
Right, because it's on the ravine or something in back there, right?
Yeah, there's an environmental reserve at the back. So it's a large parcel, but I think most people were turned off by the fact that you were only able to use a very small part of it, the frontage. And I don't know the specifics around this particular application, but it seems to me there's also an additional parcel next door involved as well. But there's more land at play, I believe, than what was originally included in some of the proposals that we looked at a long time ago.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much for that information.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Graham?
I've been following along in the media, a lot of conversations happening about the HRM community plan, which has had some difficulties getting through our provincial government for approval. I'm wondering if there's any indication from the province that our community plan may come under review. Is that something we need to be prepared for? Do they have the option of reviewing it again?
So the province would have the option at any time to review any municipality's planning regulations. That is their prerogative, that we are creatures of the province, every municipality is. So that would be my understanding that yes, we could be at any time subject to a similar situation that Halifax is going through. We had no problems with our plan review being adopted. We did implement most of the measures that the province is trying to push through in Halifax, or has pushed through in Halifax. We already have most of those in our planning documents. But I don't think we really register that significant as a municipality on the province's sort of radar. So we tend to avoid a lot of that kind of oversight that Halifax has been subject to.
How often are we required to submit a community plan?
I'm not actually sure right off. It used to be every 5 years, but I think realistically it takes several years to do a proper plan review. So the province hasn't really been enforcing that piece, to my knowledge, in a long time. But typically they would run about 10 years.
So we should hopefully be comfortable for a while.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We're now moving on to our Truro Police Service reports. Chief Dave McNeil with your report, Chief.
Thanks, Your Worship. The report for September is as follows. We had 29 traffic collisions for the month. We issued 158 Motor Vehicle Act tickets, conducted 19 road safety check stops, responded to 12 noise or bylaw type complaints, conducted 8 impaired driving investigations, responded to 128 other provincial statutes like Liquor Control Act or Trespass Act. There were 28 mental health calls, 36 well-being checks for a total of 64, 22 court order violation files, 13 crimes against the person, 32 assaults, 46 thefts, 19 damage to property disturbance calls, 2 break-and-enter files, 4 fraud or forgery files, 129 suspicious person or vehicle complaints, 30 alarms, and 175 other calls for general police assistance for a total of 890 calls for the month. 193 of those resulted in charges. There were 14 parking tickets issued, and there was 55 speeding tickets issued on various locations throughout the municipality. And the Community Enhancement School Resource Officer report is attached for your review, respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, I don't see any questions. I do. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for your report. I just had a question because I've often said about how boring I am. I was recently reading some of the Truro court dockets. One particular one popped up with a lot of MVA issues, including an unlicensed driver and such of that. I'm just wondering where in your report, if there were instances where somebody was charged with operating a vehicle that didn't have a valid MVA or they didn't have a valid license, where in this report would that fall under, or would that be grouped under something else, or is it called out specifically on its own?
Second category, provincial traffic offenses. 158, there are various.
Sorry, I think we just killed this microphone.
No, this microphone.
Sorry, I thought you heard me. The second category there says other
provincial traffic offenses. I got that much.
Yeah, so everything other than speeding offenses are located there. Speeding offenses are broken out separately at the council's request.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Okay. Now moving on to our Public Works report, and Director Browning, if you would be so kind.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hinton. I trust you've all had the opportunity to read my monthly report. At this time, I'm going to provide the monthly highlights of what has went on with our department for the month of September. Construction has commenced on the asphalt street milling and asphalt street paving projects during the month of September, as many of you have noticed, obviously. Asphalt street milling was completed by Dexter Construction Company Limited by September 26, 2025. Asphalt paving work has been completed by Willcare Paving and Construction Limited on Willow Street, Martha Avenue, East Prince Street from Wood Street, Aberdeen, and George Street. Completion of Prince Street from Commercial Street to Pleasant Street is expected to be completed during the week of October 13th. Construction has also commenced on Cobequid Drive by Dexter Construction Company Limited. The asphalt street surface has been pulverized. Replacement of sections of sanitary sewer is also progressing. Just a reminder, the date of substantial performance of contract for this project is December 23rd. This year's Street Recapitalization Canada Community Building Fund, former gas tax, projects were to include Argus Drive, Havelock Street, Queen Street from the western tracks to Elizabeth Street, and Cobequid Drive. Argus Drive will be delayed in execution until the remainder of the work of the Argus Drive ball field is completed, i.e. the infilling of the ponds. Due to the extent of the work involved in the Havelock Street project and the time of year, we're postponing this project until spring of 26. Department staff plan on arranging meetings with the business owners on and around Havelock Street once design work is complete to consult with them about the project and to determine how best that we can cooperate to minimize disruptions to their businesses as best as possible when construction starts. Recapitalization work on Queen Street from the railway tracks in Elizabeth Street commenced this past month. It was planned that a minimum of one lane of traffic will remain open for use throughout majority of construction, but full street closure of this section of Queen Street occurred as planned the days leading up to placement of new asphalt, which is in fact happening today. The existing traffic and pedestrian signal lights at the intersection of Queen Street and Walker Street, as well as the intersection of Queen Street and Lawrence Street, planned to be replaced, have been postponed also until spring or summer of 26 due to the extent of work involved in the project and the time of year. Department staff will be arranging meetings with property owners at these intersections to consult with them about the project and to determine any measures that can be taken to minimize disruptions to their properties and businesses as best we can. Our department has issued 52 working within town right-of-way permits to date, with 6 of them issued during the month of September. Department staff have received 33 service requests from residences and other town departments during the month of September. The department has completed 146 service requests to date. Our environmental services crew has substantially completed the work associated with the installation of a new 1,200 millimeter diameter by 85 meter storm sewer line within the area of McDonald Street to alleviate localized flooding issues within the immediate area. This work was originally anticipated to be partially completed by this winter, with the remaining work to be completed next summer, but staff was able to complete the work by the end of September. Our environmental services water crews continued with hydrant maintenance throughout the month of September, which included repairs to 2 hydrants. The water crew also responded effectively to repair 1 water service leak. They also continue with catch basin, manhole, and pumping station maintenance in September. Transportation service crews placed over 596 ton of asphalt patching for utility cuts and potholes on various streets within the town to date. 76 ton during the month of September. Patching activities will continue through early September before the department starting in-house capital projects. They also repaired 10 meters of concrete curb infrastructure within the town this year to date. Concrete reinstatement from various utility cuts and maintenance in town will continue periodically throughout the fall. 3 new crewmen were interviewed and hired for the department's environmental services crews, filling the 3 vacancies within our crews. Each of the 3 new crewmen started work September 22nd and are currently being trained. The department also interviewed and hired a new project engineer in September. Danielle Crow, PNG, will be joining our team October 20th. We're very excited to have her joining our team. Finally, the town's water treatment facility continues to operate as intended. Due to the near drought-like conditions experienced this summer, water levels within the town's reservoir continue to be observed to be lower than previous years. A voluntary water conservation order was issued in September, and department staff will continue to monitor the water levels and determine if further measures are to be taken. We could speak about this more, but I shall give you a little sneak preview. There will be more measures taken. We're just determining what they are. So this monthly council report is to provide council with details on the services provided by the department and updates on status of projects under each of our 5 areas of service. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. Questions for Director Browning? Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Browning, for your report. You mentioned the sneak preview that there may be stricter measures coming.
Yep.
It's almost like you expected us to ask questions about that. If we are moving into more mandatory restrictions, how is that going to impact industrial users, commercial users, recreation or commercial recreation, and residents as well? Like, we have, I've been reading about restrictions in HRM, which is part of why I bring this up, and the complaint that, hey, how come we can't close these, car washes, for example? It would be an industry that uses a lot more water than, some of the others. But that would, I guess, hinder their ability to operate and make a living. So I guess the question is, how do we balance preserving the water versus allowing a business to still exist?
And that's actually something that's under consideration. So we don't, we're not taking this lightly. I mean, this is really, put in perspective, the first time in about 35 years that the town of Truro is going down the path of mandatory water conservation measures. So these are all the things that we're going to consider as far as what the particular measures are going to be or going to need to be. We're reaching out, so myself, the town's operations engineer, and the town's, or the water utilities, water treatment plant manager, we've been conversing for the last few days just about these topics or whatever. How are we going to handle this? We're going to reach out, and I've started to reach out to our neighbors, different communities or whatever, who are going through this themselves and have regularly gone through, just to see what their thought processes were behind what measures they put in place. One of the things we were, concerned obviously about the now, as our reservoir, the water level is dropping, albeit the rate has decreased, but it's still dropping, so it's not recharging. We're also mindful of protecting it for spring, summer of next year. We don't know what kind of winter we're going to have. We don't know if we're going to have an abundance of snow to be able to melt to recharge or any kind of other precipitation. So we're being mindful of looking ahead to that as well, so that we can have it in as best state as we possibly can once annual, the high consumption months or whatever come by, so.
Great. And with regard to residential impact, have we considered partnering with any local, nonprofits or anybody who might be doing rain barrel fundraisers? Like I have a couple of rain barrels at my home. Have we considered trying to partner with anybody to help promote the rain barrel usage so that we are not using what I would say expensive potable water to just throw into the garden, right? If you've got your rain barrel, that makes it, it has certainly lowered my water consumption. Have we looked into any sort of partnerships to help promote that?
Not yet, but that is an excellent idea. I guess, not to sound cute or whatever, but I guess right now for them to work, we're going to actually need some rain first. But by and large, no, I think that's a really good idea. It just is same sort of theme as our water conservation measures, just to protect water usage or whatever. It goes along the same theme. Just over, it's just a longer period solution.
So we've got many solutions to a very complex problem on how to manage the water.
Yep.
We had mentioned last meeting that the current state of the reservoir, even though as low as it is, it was still above the previous high water mark. Were we able to confirm that?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was still, is it still above the previous high water mark today?
Oh, yes.
Excellent.
It is. So basically, just for a little perspective, we dug out the drawings for the reservoir dating back to, 1991. And so, just for perspective, where basically the new dam is like 24 meters higher than, if I'm reading this right, hold on. 14 meters higher than the original dam, right? So we're talking, what, 44 feet, right? The amount the water level has dropped is not even close to that. So not only was this, at the time, the dam built up significantly, but also the shape of the reservoir was reshaped as well to gain more volume. So, and what I'll point out as well, there are some, we've noted there's some photographers out there, social media photographers taking a picture of our reservoir, and there was one concerning that I will clarify. There is one that looks like the reservoir is very, very dry. Keep in mind that that is the back end of the reservoir, and there's only a maximum of 4 feet of water in that section anyway. So the further you move from the back north, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So.
Have we considered doing any dredging in the back end, especially at this time of year when it is typically lower, to add capacity to make it a little more than 4 feet?
We haven't really considered it because we haven't really had to before, and really right now it's not something that I don't think we need to really entertain. The reservoir itself has plenty of capacity in and itself. We just need some rain to fill it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's it's the same with the rain barrels. Mine got filled up early, and they fill up quick when it does even shower, which is helpful.
Yeah.
With regard to water usage and water consumption, I don't know if this is information that you would have on hand, but just comparing water bills, because a lot of people are, so I would say, vilifying the new apartment buildings coming in, saying, "Oh, we're running out of water, and now we're putting in all these apartments. What happens then?" I'm like, there's the residential use, I believe. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was in an apartment. The residential use for an apartment building would imagine be much lower than, say, say a car wash or a lot of, the golf course that would water all summer long. I don't even know if they use a municipal source. That's but do we have any idea of the comparison, I guess, between residential usage, commercial usage, industrial uses? Again, acknowledging that industry and commercial can be widely varying water consumption rates.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I can say is, it is true, like a per unit, like per residential unit water usage, water consumption, comparing an apartment building to a single-family dwelling. The single-family dwelling, that unit would use more water than one of the apartment units within the apartment building itself. That's, it's almost intuitive, really. With regard to sort of comparing or having any data to compare residential to commercial to industrial, I mean, The commercial and industrial side of things is so heavily dependent on what the nature of the business is that there really isn't anything. I mean, we can go, there's published consumption values used for design of water distribution systems, typically on the high side to be conservative. But really, when you're looking at existing systems and doing any evaluations of them with regards to capacity or consumption, you just really have to go with the water bills, like the actual consumption data in itself.
Okay.
One of the things we do know that back when the sewage, because on the basis that what goes in comes out.
Yep.
When we first built the sewage treatment plant with the County of Colchester, the town's usage of that, the flows into the sewage treatment plant were over 50%. We're now down to somewhere in the neighborhood of about 32%.
Yep.
And that is with same industrial users and the multi-unit buildings. So, and we haven't seen, with the multi-units that have come online last few years, we have not seen that proportion increase significantly. So that, anecdotally, that will tell us that their flows are not having a big impact on the sewage treatment plant. Therefore, they're not consuming any more water than would be expected. So again, every time a building goes up, we factor in how much water do we expect to consume based on number of units. And yeah, there really doesn't seem to be any marginal change in the usage of water or the outflow into the sewage treatment plant.
Yep.
Yeah, that is excellent information to have. One final question, and it's not water related, but just the Queen Street work that you mentioned that's ongoing today. I've already heard from a resident concerned about the lack of sidewalk there. Do we have plans to put curb sidewalks in there? And if not, why?
Well, at the moment, it wasn't budgeted for.
Okay.
And so we are looking at, so right now, basically what we're doing is field fitting back what was already there on that section of Queen Street. And what was there is once you get past the tracks and you notice that the concrete sidewalk terminates, it was essentially an asphalt pathway for the rest of the way to Elizabeth. We're maintaining that for now.
Right.
The likelihood, I mean, again, or whatever, this is all tied part and parcel to our asset management planning. Like, basically, we aren't there yet with sidewalk and curb. We'll get there as far as evaluating and prioritizing those areas of town. Where I can say that will show up, can't say X, we're not quite there yet. But we anticipated that it was unlikely that we'd be putting new curb or concrete sidewalk in that area anytime soon, so we proceeded with this repaving work because it was much needed. So that was the philosophy in that area there.
Okay, no argument that the work was much needed, but just thinking of my time walking down in that area, walking along, the east end of Brunswick Street, where it's a similar situation. I just want to highlight the impact of pedestrian safety when there's not a delineated, walkway versus roadway. You do end up getting drivers sometimes thinking, oh, I've got the entire road, I can move over here, whereas we're out there trying to walk our dogs and walk with our families and friends. It gets very dangerous. So I want to highlight that we really should be looking at sidewalks, and it's a little disconcerting, I guess, to hear that maybe sidewalks weren't budgeted for when we were looking at doing this work.
Well, there wasn't any intention to do it because it is a difficult area. If you can picture the area where it's pretty flat, like the houses are pretty much relative to street level. So it's going to be challenging as to what we actually even figure out to do with any kind of sidewalk type construction, because typically you get a curb built up 6 feet.
Yep.
You want to slope the sidewalk away to not flood the property, but to go out to the street. Once you start carrying the one and multiplying by pi or whatever, suddenly the sidewalk is higher than the
driveway and the lawn.
Yeah,
and you're now pushing water back the other way.
100%. So that's a challenging kind of area or whatever. That's just not. We can't just put a conventional sidewalk construction type cross section in there. So it's going to take some thought as to what we can do. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Dolter, are we going to be putting something on the radio, just an update for water for people, because a lot of people aren't on Facebook or social media?
We'll
We'd
figure
like to
we'll figure
tomorrow
out.
or the next
Yeah,
time.
certainly with if we go to mandatory restrictions, we will get the
Perfect.
word out as any way we can.
And that's one of the things Mayor Hinton, I mean, that's one of the things we're contemplating also, is just the means of communication.
Absolutely,
What level
it's
do we
important.
communicate this? What are the avenues we want to go over and above where typical things are, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Once again, we encourage people to sign up for the alert system too, which is a great way for us to get the message out.
Exactly. Counselor Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. A few questions for you, Mr. Browning.
Sure.
Quick ones. You mentioned that the projects on Havelock and Queen Street Lights would be
Yep.
deferred to next year. Will that be on the 2025-26 budget, or will it be going over to the 26-27 budget?
So in deferring this work, depending on when it starts, and realistically or whatever, it's going to be spring, probably when our fiscal year budgeting period of time is happening again. So the plan is to defer it to the next fiscal budget. It's going to be put forward to council just the same as every other year as far as annual fiscal budget planning. That's going to be put forward again. We'd recommend to continue and have these projects done in the spring, but it is ultimately, at the end of the day, your guys' choice come that time, should you want to do something different.
Okay, and there's a term I've seen in there, substantial performances of contract. Is that something new?
No, that particular terminology obviously exists in construction contracts, but also it's in the Nova Scotia Builders Lien Act. So it's referenced in that, and what it means is essentially, as it kind of states, right, substantially complete. You're done, you're pretty much done, which, so by definition, it means that A, the construction work, if it's whatever it might be, is no less than 97.5% complete. The thing that we built or building can be used for its purpose and function or whatever at given time, and that the contractor is able to and justify billing to 97.5%. So that's, and then there's a bunch of legal jargon that if you want to ask town solicitor sitting beside you or whatever, then, you know, he can elaborate better than I. But that's essentially what that's what it is. When I refer to that, that's what that is.
Okay, thank you. And just, do you have an update on the sidewalks? We talked about flags or
Like the
lights.
crosswalks in the various areas of downtown?
And the Victoria Street parking lot, the gravel one. And that'll be it. Thanks.
There we go. So the gravel parking lot on Victoria Street is kind of similar, pardon me, situation as the larger parking lot at the number 2 Construction Battalion Athletic Facility site, in that it's difficult to delineate parking spaces in gravel parking lots. So the similar, we'll call it an issue, exists in both of them. So we're going to look at the both of them and say, let's see what makes sense or whatever to put something down to help delineate it. It's going to have to be something a little more on the permanent side, just so that somebody doesn't make off with whatever the heck we put up. Like, for example, barrels and ropes, they can be easily mucked with, basically, right? So that's those two we're going to look at just to see what we can tweak up something a little better for it to function. As far as crosswalks go, we've recently completed collecting our pedestrian and vehicle traffic data for our numerous locations of these crosswalks downtown on Prince and Queen. We've analyzed that, we'll call, for the purpose of evaluating warrants of certain measures of crosswalk signaling or other safety measures. I can state that based on, you know, the data that we collected and the analysis we did, there really isn't anything more warranted for any of these crosswalks. But I will say that a couple of them on Queen Street, we did not have the CEC pedestrian data at the time that we were collecting them, so those would be higher. But nonetheless, so what we're going to do regardless is we're going to start with 5 of our, we'll say, busiest crosswalks and implement the flags to those. We are planning on getting together with Downtown Truro Partnership to see if there is opportunity, that we believe that there's opportunity that they could get funding themselves that we can't get our hands on, to put toward possibly the blinky light traffic or the pedestrian signaling for a couple of these ones that are really busy. But right now we haven't budgeted for it. But that's our hope, is that we could get some funding to put toward that to offset costs for next year.
Can we look into it for next year?
For budgeting?
Yeah.
We can look into anything. We can do anything. All it takes is time and money.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, the one interesting thing Mr. Browning alluded to is that crosswalks can be a very emotional issue, but the engineering data doesn't necessarily support the fact that it's required. And we know that people have bad experiences going across roads, but the problem we have is over the longer term, we analyze that, it has to be justified. We can put a lot of crosswalks in, but again, it does disrupt traffic, and if they're not actually required, it's not a really effective way of, kind of controlling traffic.
Well, and also even having too many crosswalks can be a safety concern, not only for pedestrians, but for the drivers as well, right? Just the stop and go and just the ultimate surprises. And I mean, it's, we're not going to do it anytime soon, but there might be consideration given to removing some, specifically along Prince Street, just because there's an awful lot scattered across there where, are they warranted, are they needed? Well, that's something to look at. Are we going to get rid of them tomorrow? No. So there's anybody in the public there think that we're going to go willy-nilly taking away crosswalks. We're not doing that, but it is something just to point out that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Talbot.
Mr. Browning, you've been on the stand quite a while, so I have a question. I know the answer, so I'll simply make a statement.
Right on.
Every year I get a number of questions around the delay between milling and paving. And the quick answer is, we try to coordinate it. It's done by two separate companies, and we're at the mercy of the companies. Thank you.
And I will add something, another more little wrinkle into that as well, is that in between the two, milling and paving, a lot of times there's work that our crews need to do to make adjustments to manholes, to catch basins, to valve covers, to valve statements. This is what's going on, if you're noticing, on Prince Street section of Prince in front of Nook and Cranny. Our crews are busy right now scrambling to go and do necessary repair work to valve covers, to manhole covers, to catch basins, in fact, even adjust elevations to make sure that they work better before we come along and go paving. So there is that adds a bit of a lag from time to time, depending on how much work there is involved in that. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Graham?
I'll try to be quick too, but I don't have the answers. I'm wondering about how often does your department evaluate traffic? Specifically, I'm asking about when people are turning off Lower Truro Road, turning left onto McClure's Mills, and those turning off James Street, turning right onto McClure's Mills. It was my understanding that the hope was when we installed the roundabout, it would make that turning opportunity a little easier for drivers. People tell me it hasn't really helped at all. I was wondering, how often do you evaluate intersections to see what might or might not be required to help flow of traffic?
Really, it's only on a, I guess, on-demand basis. Like you mentioned or whatever, that there's issues, or people are, sensing there's issues in that particular area. That may be warranting us to go and have a look at the traffic patterns through there. Overall with the town, I mean, it's been, if I recall, 6 years since we've had an overall significant traffic study done with the town of Truro. It might be something that, I mean, we're obviously going to need to update it at some point, and it's just a matter of when that time is. And really, we're going to look and see just, all right, has there been enough development, enough influx in population increase, traffic flow to warrant another expense of the study again? We're probably not quite there yet, but we'll get there probably in the next 2 to 3 years, I guess. So.
Well, we're having a community meeting tomorrow night for Ward 1, and that's going to be a hot topic.
Okay.
So.
Well, we could, so there's an option, we could build another roundabout.
Great, I'll let them know.
There was one, well, wasn't there one planned or whatever for that intersection as well at one point in time, so.
Well, I'll let them know you said one's coming.
No, geez, don't get me in trouble with Ms. Russell down here.
Yeah.
No, but perhaps something to discuss or whatever for future. Budget time. We can do, like I say, we can do anything, all it takes is time and money, right? Now, we might be a little short on the latter.
Yeah, again, not to drag this out, but there is an alternative for that area as well too, because there was a connection onto Wade Road that we were considering.
Yeah.
And that's something that that might be a lot cheaper option.
Probably would.
Okay, just, I know you've had your 5 minutes there, Counselor, so just make it quick because we've got a lot left on our agenda, if you don't mind.
Yep, thank you, Madam Mayor. And this may warrant a conversation later, but it was brought up about crosswalks, and I was concerned about some of what I heard, like the possible removal of crosswalks at intersections, because that's the only place I see crosswalks on Prince Street.
No, it's actually the mid-span ones, but there is just the sheer number of them on Prince Street it's quite a bit, right?
Okay.
But I just said that just to make sure you were listening.
Oh, I'm always listening. The flags, are we acknowledging that those are optional? Because I've lived in places that use the flags. If I didn't have a flag in my hand, motorists stopping for me. I've even had some of them yell out at me, "Where's your flag?" And they had to stop at a red light up the road. I nearly ran after them with the flag to show them exactly where it was.
Okay.
But I'm not a fan of the flag system is what I'm trying to say. Also, when it comes to some of the crosswalk safety, have we considered those bump outs, making them a little bit longer? Because even on a bicycle traveling 25, 30 kilometers an hour only, I've sometimes come up, there's a big truck or a van or something, and I've not seen a pedestrian until the very last second that's trying to cross.
Right.
So maybe daylighting the crosswalks a little bit more to give pedestrians a little bit more visibility is something that we should consider.
No, there's a lot of different things we can consider to improve, and it's all basically by circumstance or by, case by case as to what the best solution could be for it, so. Yep.
And then maybe we'll ask Chief McNeil to have his officers down there a little bit more often and educating some motorists the hard way if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our final report is from our Director Sims for Parks and Recreation. Director Sims.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regular maintenance and cleanup efforts continue in downtown areas, parks, fields, and trails. With the transition from summer to fall sports, field usage has been high. Please see the attached usage report for further details. The No. 2 Construction Battalion Athletic Facility held its soft opening this month. Staff worked closely with user groups to begin field and track access, while maintenance equipment continues to be moved on site. Construction remains underway on the press box and throws area. We appreciate the community's patience during this transition, and we look forward to welcoming everyone to this exciting new facility. The 2025 Street Tree Planting Program concluded successfully with a total of 72 new street-side trees planted across the community. The hemlock woolly adelgid treatment is currently on hold due to the ongoing drought conditions. The current conditions are limiting the effectiveness of the chemical application. Hazard tree assessments continue across public spaces and maintain safety standards. The Embrace Truro Festival was held in partnership with the Diversity Advisory Committee, Village of Bible Hill, and Downtown Truro Partnership. Embrace stands for Everyone Makes a Better, Respectful, Accepting, Creative Environment, and celebrates Truro's diversity and culture. This well-attended event featured live music, dance, cultural demonstrations, and family-friendly activities. Fall programming is underway, including the launch for the Fall Sport Ball and ongoing community drop-in programs. For a complete listing, residents are encouraged to contact Douglas Street Recreation Center or visit the town's website. The second edition of the Truro 150 Victoria Park activity book, titled Nature Explorers, is complete. The book is designed for adolescents, adults, and seniors. It highlights Victoria Park's history and features. It complements Club Hemi, the first edition, for youth ages 4 to 8. Our partnership with the Ecology Action Center continues as we finalize community activation plans to enhance active transportation infrastructure. These improvements, informed by community consultations and expert input, include new bike racks and repair stations across town facilities. The Skylar Blackie Fit to Be Hero race took place in Victoria Park on Saturday, October 4th. This 5 km adventure race was a great success and well attended. And the 51st Provincial Volunteer Awards were held on Monday, September 29th. We proudly recognized Ann Fidds and Samantha Cook-Paul as Truro's provincial volunteer representatives for their work with the Millbrook Food Bank. In recognition of important community dates and events, the town of Truro commemorated National Police Women's Day, Nova Scotia Stampede, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, and Mi'kmaq History Month. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Director Sims. Any questions? Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Sims. On the hemlock woolly adelgid treatment, I assume we don't have a timeline for when that resumes, but for residents who have potential chemical reactions or intolerances, what conditions would allow that treatment to continue so that they can maybe watch out for that in case they don't see posts on social?
Sure, we just need to get out of the drought. So right now, just the chemicals won't transpire into the trees, and so we're just waiting for that. So as of right now, I'm going to assume that we won't be able to resume until spring.
Oh, wow, that would be quite the delay. Would that delay cause a lot of issue with the effectiveness? Because if we've had, this treatment and then a long time without the treatment, is that going to set us back any in our progress?
No, it's just the treatment will be different trees.
Okay.
So it's just delaying us getting to other trees.
Okay, other trees. And then we discussed this last month, but the soft opening of the track, love to hear it, love to hear all the positive feedback. But I'm still hearing a lot about, again, this does not help anybody who works. A lot of people who are unable to access the track, people who have donated to the facility who are unable to use it at this time. Do we have a timeline for when proper public access will be available? Or what is the barrier to preventing people from just going and doing a workout on the track when there's no staff on hand?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is just, through this soft opening, is learn from our user groups how to make sure that we are maintaining the facility properly, that we have proper security, that people aren't misusing the facility. We've learned from other facilities by not having staff there. They are now repairing the track. We also have public washrooms, the artificial turf grass. So it is a large facility that we want to maintain. So as soon as we have all the staffing, we have all the equipment on site to be able to maintain it properly, we will start operating with more hours for more public access.
Okay, thank you. And then just end on a positive note, wanted to recognize staff and volunteers for the Skylar Blackie event. It really was a great time. And not just the staff running the event, but staff running in the event. So, whom I won't call out for, but I think they know who they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Thomas?
Yeah, I just have a couple of reports and a question. On behalf of the mayor, I attended on Monday the 51st Provincial Volunteer Awards, and I just want to call out these two individuals. I know you mentioned them, Ann Amphidis and Samantha Cook-Paul. They were both thrilled to be recognized for their work, and I would ask council if we could send them a letter of appreciation. There were 70 people that were, just over 70 people recognized, and it was held in Halifax, and the Lieutenant Governor was there, the Premier was there, and also our local MLA were all there, and it was an excellent presentation, and these people were thrilled to receive this recognition. And the food bank issue in town, I don't know, I think we're all aware of the fact that every month seems to be, we're breaking new records, and so I really appreciate their volunteer time.
I had,
and giving
Deputy
back.
Mayor, I had Ann Fittis in my office.
Excellent.
And we put a post on social media.
Okay.
This was a while ago now when we gave the awards in Truro. So she was recognized there, and the great work that they do, excellent work that they do to help those that are having the most difficult problem just having food on their table. So
Right. Do you think it's something that perhaps we should do, that council would send them a letter of appreciation?
we could do that again, for sure, absolutely.
Okay, well, if we've done it, we've done it, so
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. The other thing is I'd like to mention is that at the Argus Ball Field today, there's 50 trees being planted by 50 volunteers. And it started at 10 this morning. It's going to finish at 3 this afternoon. I think they're finished. And Dalhousie students from Dalhousie AC were there. NSCC students were there. CEC students were there. And also volunteers from the Living Earth Council. As I say, 50 trees were planted. And it didn't cost the town a penny. It was planted by volunteers. And CN Rail and Tree Canada purchased the trees for the town. So it's all very positive. And I just want to give a shout out to Scott Holman. He's a tree tech for the town. He helped organize this. And also Don Cameron, who's chair of the Urban Forest Committee, put a lot of work into this, organized it, and it was really well done. So I want to thank them for that.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you. I now call for a motion to accept all the committee reports. Councillor McGrath, Councillor Fleming. Any discussion on the reports? Hearing none. All approving the reports, please say aye. Aye. Reports are carried. Thank you, and approved. We're moving on to questions by members. Council, are there any questions by members today? I just want to publicly thank Councillor Fleming for representing me at the Battle of Britain and laying the wreath. I appreciate that very much. And to Deputy Mayor Thomas for raising the cadet flag on Saturday and learning how to use the key box, which I think you did proficiently, so thank you very much. I appreciate both of you for doing that. Thank you, thank you. Just briefly, I just want to acknowledge very, very quickly here, because the time is of the essence. George E.M. Lewis is receiving a posthumous award for the 2025 inductee for the Nova Scotia Business Hall of Fame. George Lewis was born in economy. His family founded the J. Lewis and Sons in Truro, later expanding into lumber, shipping, and textiles. They also had one of the largest lumber mills, forming the Glen Covey Shipping Company, which operated a fleet of 8 vessels exporting lumber and goods worldwide. He co-founded the Eastern Hat and Cap Company, one of the largest hat and textile manufacturers in Canada, which was later known as the Lewis Limited, employing over 1,000 people. George also served as president of Moyer's Chocolates and played a major role in the province's industrial growth. He was a respected civic leader. He helped develop Truro's Victoria Park and funded Lewis Road in memory of his late son Earl. His philanthropy supported the Truro Legion, the YMCA, Orphanage, and Boy Scouts. He died in 1949, and a monument was placed in his honor at Camp Malagash. He's remembered as a pioneer, industrialist, and shipping magnate, a man of great vision who had the common touch. And I know his family, his son George, and their family must be very proud that he's going to receive this posthumous honor. And the second person to be inducted is going to be Jim Mills. Many people know the Mills family. Jim Mills, a Truro boy, is the co-founder and owner of Office Interiors, Atlantic's largest office furniture and equipment company. He began his career with Johnson & Johnson, and he always wanted to own his own business. He built Office Interiors into a respected organization with offices across Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island, and the company also has become known for its deep community involvement and its mission to help businesses love the way they work. Jim leads with integrity and strong company culture, rooted in doing the right thing. Beyond Office Interiors, he's involved in several ventures, including Cabco Company, Lakeview Electric, and Tommy Commercial Flooring and Window Treatments, employing over 200 people collectively. His leadership has earned numerous awards, including Canada's Top Under 40, Atlantic Business Magazine, CEO Hall of Fame, and Hayworth's Best in Class Award for 10 consecutive years. He's active in community service and has served on the board of the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame, member of the Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, and trustee with Ashburn Golf Club, amongst others. I've known Jim since I was a little girl, and I can tell you he is very philanthropic. When we were building the Herb Peppered Park and we ran out of money for the fence, I called Jim, and there was not a question. There was a check in the mailbox, which I received the following week. So I love to always mention those people that really have contributed to community, and I'm sure both of their families are very proud of them. Councillor Graham.
I just wanted to extend an invitation to all Truro residents, but in particular those residing in Ward 1, to attend a conversation with their Ward 1 councillors tomorrow evening at the Truro Library. Councillor Talbot and I will be hosting an open house there. We encourage you all to come, and we'll have light refreshments. It is in the Read Room on the first floor from 6 until 7:30.
Thank you.
Councillor Talbot, did you have anything to add? No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Item 8, new business. Request for decision to set public hearing date for 730 Yonge Street. Mr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, development agreement application from Aquaba Developments Incorporated to permit a multi-unit residential development consisting of 287 dwelling units split between 19 buildings, including 2-story townhouses, 5-story multi-unit buildings on land at 730 Yonge Street, and those are PID numbers 20483-244, 20483-251, and 20484-2998. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is to be resolved the council set a public hearing date for November 3rd, 2025 to consider approving the application of Aquaba Developments Incorporated to permit a multi-unit residential development consisting of 287 dwelling units split between 19 buildings, including 2-story townhouses, 5-story multi-unit buildings on land at 730 Yonge Street.
Thank you. I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Talbot, seconder. Deputy Mayor, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Okay, thank you very much. Item 8B is a request for decision to set public hearing date for 254 Roby Street. Mr. Dolter?
So an application for Tier 2 Properties Limited to amend the existing development agreement to permit a fourth pad mount site on the property at 245 Roby Street, PID 201-48045, to reduce the overall required parking spaces on the site to a minimum of 1,142 spaces. The application has been reviewed by and discussed with the Town's Planning Advisory Committee at their June and September meetings. The committee supported staff's recommendation that council set a public hearing date to consider amending the development agreement for this project. Subject to the application, the town's urban forester preparing a planting plan to meet the satisfaction of the town's development officer. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is being resolved that council set a public hearing date for November 3rd, 2025 to consider amending the development agreement to permit the construction of a fourth pad site at 245 Roby Street and reduce the required parking spaces to a minimum of 1,142, subject to the applicant and the town's urban forester preparing a planting plan that meets the satisfaction of the town's development officer.
Okay, calling for motion, Councillor Fleming. I saw your hand. Seconder, Councillor McGrath. Discussion, councillors? Councillor Talbot.
No, just for clarification, the agenda says 254 Roby, so is it 254 or 245?
245.
Okay, thank you.
Did I say 254? Okay, all those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right. Item 8C, request for decision. Travel, meal, and miscellaneous allowance policy update. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the travel, meal, and miscellaneous allowance policy has been updated to add clarity around who is authorized to represent the town at invitational events. Specifically, the amendment states, the mayor on behalf of council and the CAO, Chief Administrative Officer on behalf of staff, are the only authorized representatives of the town for invitational events unless otherwise designated by the CAO, the mayor, or by council as a whole. So this does not include meetings with affiliated associations and committees and community groups, which examples would be the Chamber, the TCPAP, Downtown Truro Partnership, those things in which council has representation or members of. And we often have luncheons on those. That would not include those events which council often attends. So the proposed motion would be the council approve the policy as presented and includes the addition of, pardon me, be it resolved the council approve the policy as presented that includes the addition of added clarity around who is authorized to attend invitational events on behalf of the town.
Thank you. I call for a mover. Councillor Graham, second. Councillor McGrath. Discussion? Okay, Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a very quick question, Mr. Dolter. Is this a new policy or an amended policy?
This is just an amendment to the current travel, meal and miscellaneous allowance policy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Talbot.
Yes. Does this include conferences?
No, it would not include conferences. No, this is simply for, there are a number of events where the mayor or there is an invitation sent to the town for a more formal meeting or event, and just to say who represents. And again, doesn't mean that council can't make a decision that council would buy a table on behalf of the town, but again, that would be a decision of council as a whole.
Okay, all right. So a mover has been made by Councillor Graham. It's been seconded by Councillor McGrath. All those in favor of approving the travel, meal, and miscellaneous allowance policy, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, motion is carried. Thank you very much. Item 8D, a request for decision for the approval of the 2025 audited consolidated financial statements. Mr. Dolter.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. So the audited financial statements for the year 2024-2025 have been reviewed by the Town of Truro's Audit Committee at a meeting held on September 11th, 2025. The town is reporting an $11,959,515 net surplus for the year, with an accumulated surplus of $111,952,319. It is the opinion of the auditors that the consolidated financial statements present fair, in all material respects, the financial position of the town as of March 31st, 2025, and its results of operations, its changes to its financial assets, and its cash flow for the year, then ended in accordance with the public sector accounting standards. It is the recommendation of the Audit Committee that Council accept the approval of the audited financial statements as presented. And these statements were sent to Council for review prior to the meeting. So the proposed motion is, be it resolved that the Town of Truro approves the 2025 consolidated financial statements as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Dolter. I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Fleming, Councillor McGrath. Any discussion on this motion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the 2025 audited consolidated financial statements, please say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We are now at the end of our public council agenda for today. I want to thank council staff, our CAO, solicitor, those present in council chambers today, and Michaela Carroll, who's sitting in for our Stephanie Rowe. Our next public council meeting is Monday, November 3rd at 1 p.m. As we prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving, there is so much for many of us to be thankful for. Continue to be kind to each other and be kind to our town. The October 6, 2025 Truro Town Council meeting is adjourned at 4:14 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.